Hello and welcome as the UMass Boston Beacons get set to take on the Roger Williams Hawks. I'm Elijah Gonzalez and I'm joined by Seth Orensky for all of today's action as UMass Boston gets set for their first game right here in Boston for their New England home opener. We thank you for tuning in to our broadcast, and it's now time that we take a look at the starting lineups. And first, we will start with the UMass Boston starting lineup and their defensive alignment here for the Beacons. As we take a look at the starting lineup for UMass Boston, it'll be defensively, as you see there. Start with Eddie Riley. He'll lead things off and play at third base. Cesari will do the DHing and bat second. Boudris will bat in the 3-hole and play at first base. Nick Herzog will be in right field. He will bat fourth. Ryan McCormick will play in left. Kaides will be doing the catching. Danny Brown will be out in center field. Leung will be playing at second base, and it'll be Hungy at shortstop for the UMass Boston Beacons. It's now time we take a look at the Roger Williams starting lineup for the Hawks, and take a look. It's Giuliano that will be out in left field. Bonavita be out in right, and then it'll be Bosco doing the catching. Roth will play at first base. Camner will be in center field. Cedino will be at third base. Dominguez will be at second. Stone will be doing the DHing, and Hoban will be out at shortstop for the Roger Williams Hawks. And you take a look at their defensive alignment as well, just mentioning their players in the field. It'll be Giuliano in left, Camner in center, Bonavita in right, and then we'll go from left to right as follows. And on the mound, Sapienza for Roger Williams, and on the flip side, it's Fashempour that'll be on the mound for the UMass Boston Beacons. We will step aside. We come back. We'll have more here for you from the ballpark. We'll step aside on the Beacons Broadcast Network.
Yeah, I mean, going from a small high school to Franklin Pierce was definitely a big change. You know, they have such a great program up there. And then realizing I was kind of a little out of my element at the time was kind of a big wake-up call. So I decided to come down to UMass Boston and join another great program and see if I could, kind of pick myself up a little bit. And as I got here, I kind of worked my way into the starting lineup for a little bit, but it wasn't really that long term. And that's kind of really when I got my first experience of not playing as much as I'm used to in the past. And it just kind of took some grit to just kind of stay with it and realize your shot's going to come. And as a young guy, you kind of just got to feed the meter every day and look up to the older players and try and learn from them the best you can to help yourself down the road. Yeah, I think it was just more going back to my roots. I think defensively, during my sophomore season, that wasn't the kind of player I was at all. I've always been very strong defensively, and it's been one of my attributes that I've embraced throughout my whole game. So, after that season, I took a good, long, hard look and figured out, where the problems were in my defensive game. And, playing on the Park League fields over the summer, it's not easy at all. There's a lot of rocks and broken glass in some of those fields. So, I was able to make some adjustments and moving from kind of the middle infield positions to the corner positions, definitely helped me with my reaction time and things along those lines. So it was more just, adjusting my own mental game and getting back to one of my strong suits that's always been part of my game throughout my whole career. Yeah, it was definitely a little strange at first, kind of moving from a non-starting role to a starting role, especially, from when that starting role that I took was, one of my best friends that I've had for the last 4 years or so. But it did definitely take a little adjustment for both me and Kyle. Starting every day, getting 4 at-bats, it kind of takes your toll on you for sure, and you just got to kind of stay consistent throughout the time and trust your process and trust that you're going to be able to play every game in and game out. And it's definitely tiring, but you get kind of used to it after a little while, and it's always fun to play. Nobody ever wants to not get 4 at-bats a game or not play all 9 innings. So, me and Kyle definitely had conversations off to the side where he was happy I'm playing, I'm happy he's playing, and we both kind of just fell into roles that, we were very successful at and very comfortable with. Going into this season, I definitely want to build off the successes I've had last season, but, also not take everything for granted. There were also a lot of parts of my game last year that I thought I could have worked on a lot better. And, for the most part, this offseason has just kind of been leading up to kind of the final last push. I think we got a lot of talent on this roster and a lot of depth, and It's definitely shown in practice and in years past with, the senior class that we have now, and then also newcomers coming in. So, but from an individual standpoint, I think it's just been kind of trusting the process the whole way, and, building off successes of last year, but also, realizing parts of my game that definitely could have been improved a little bit, and, just trying to figure out ways where I can be a little more consistent with the bat and definitely keep the defense up a lot. And I think, building off of that, it'll kind of lead up to a successful season, both from an individual standpoint and, from a team standpoint, we're definitely going to be successful as well.
We want to do theater that is responsible. We want to do music that is evocative and elevates us. We want to do dance that reflects urban movement and connection. I've been a practicing designer for the last 30 years. My specialty is costumes. This space is fantastic. This is our recital hall, and it's so outstanding that many people compare it to the symphony hall because the quality of sound is like nothing in town. And there is the painting studio, the sculpture studio, the digital studio. The type of students that we're getting, they're more competitive. They're looking for these kind of facilities. They look at other private colleges, but then decide to come here. Boston is filled with regional theaters, so our students can actually apply what they're learning and build a portfolio. And it's so great to see their names on the programs, and people may not know they're from UMass Boston, but eventually as they graduate and they begin to get professional jobs and you see their bios, that's going to be UMass Boston. It's going to be the stamp all over. UMass Boston represents what true liberal arts is about. In my class, you have students who are psychologists, business, chemistry. The final goal is that we have well-rounded global citizens graduating from UMass Boston.
Welcome back to Monin Park as UMass Boston gets set for their home opener here against the Roger Williams Hawks, and take a look at some of the things we should know for today's matchup. And Seth, for UMass Boston, it's coming off that Florida trip in a game that in a couple of games at the end of the trip that they had a lot of success. Beginning of the trip, they were able to kind of figure themselves out, but towards the end of that trip, looking like a very talented and tough team to beat.
Yeah, the Beacons played an extremely difficult schedule down in Florida, and it showed with a couple bumps and bruises early on, but to finish off at 4-4, not too bad, especially with some dominant wins over some strong competition down there, Washington and Jefferson, and then Farmingdale State. On the other side, Roger Williams is going the opposite way. Decent start to the season, but they've lost their last 5 by a combined 17-7 margin, including a couple of blowout losses. Their last time out gave up 17 runs in a 17-3 loss to Trinity. They also suffered a 19-1 7-inning loss to Case Western. So it's not been a good little stretch here for Roger Williams over their last 5.
And of course, we talk about for UMass Boston playing some tough competition while they were down in Florida. But taking a look at the starting pitcher today for the UMass Boston Beacons, and it's Dylan Fashempour coming in with a 1.80 ERA so far this year. Just 2 appearances, Seth, but in the 5 innings, he's looked very good for the Beacons.
Yeah, Fashionpour is a guy that Dan Gamble, the Beacons pitching coach, is very excited about. Says that he's a true competitor, very lively arm, a pretty good arm for a freshman. We're going to see 4 pitches from him, fastball, curveball, changer, and slider. He's got strikeout stuff, had 5 strikeouts in 4 innings in a win over nationally ranked Keystone College, although Keystone did just fall outside the top 25, one of a number of teams down in Florida who suffered some bumps and bruises, but they're typically a great team. Beacons saw them last year in the New England Regional. Fashionpour has pitched well in his 2 appearances thus far, and he gets the start in the Beacons opener, so we'll see how he does today against the Roger Williams team that has beaten the Beacons in 2 of the last 3 years, 2 of the 3 years overall here at Monin Park.
So we're set to go here for the first game in New England. For these 2 teams, the first pitch is in there for a called strike, and the count is 0-1. As Giuliano will step in to lead things off for Roger Williams. You mentioned their tough start to this season, coming in at 3-6 on the year. Swing and a miss. Counts 0-2. Quickly ahead here for Fashionpour.
Galino's an interesting leadoff guy. He's played a lot the last 2 seasons for head coach Kevin Tower, but he hasn't hit above 230. So someone that he trusts, but not a guy who's going to hit for a ton of average. Does do a good job of getting on base, though. Last year finished with the team best .374 on base percentage.
As UMass Boston knows so far this year, sometimes it takes a little while to get those bats going. So they did that towards the end of that trip. But a couple of tough losses for Roger Williams. Is a great breaking ball from Fashempour, and he sets down Gugliano to start the game on a strikeout swinging.
Good stuff from Fashempour, and it's very interesting to see. I mean, granted, the Beacons' home opener was supposed to be 3 weeks ago, but we would not have expected to see a pair of freshmen start the game for the Beacons battery. Nico Kaides, who's behind the plate today, has been very good defensively and has hit extremely well at .375. And seeing this pairing with such a veteran team, and the Beacons have seniors almost everywhere else in the diamond, is a very good sign, and it just shows how much they've gained the confidence of this team's pitching staff.
First pitch misses, and the second one misses as well, and the count's 2-0. Lost to Wheaton College and Keystone, and you mentioned they got the win, dropping out of the top 25, but that's a very competitive top 25 already to start the year. That one swung on and grounded towards third, fielded by Riley on the slide. Out of the glove, fires to first, and it's just in time, and it gets Bonavita for the second out of the inning on a 5-3 putout.
That just shows how good of an arm Eddie Riley has, because not only did he have to slide to his left and then double clutch trying to get it out of the glove. That was a really strong throw, and I thought Bonavita was going to get there, but just in time, and it gives the Beacons a chance to face Chris Bosco, who's really one of the best players for Roger Williams, one of the best players for the whole CCC, and he's up there with no one on, which is a good sign for UMass Boston.
And again, Bosco, another guy that has started off a little bit slow, hitting just .207 to start the year for Roger Williams. The next pitch misses outside, and it's 2-0. The Hawks are very happy that they don't have to see Case Western again. They played them 4 times while they were down in Lexington, South Carolina. So getting some new competition, coming back up north, and the pitch in there for a strike to make it 2-1.
Bosco, despite his lower batting average, I think he's somewhere around 150, has always been a consistent hitter, hitting .307 last year, .280 as a freshman, third-team all-region player as a sophomore when he hit .324. But as good as he is offensively, where he's got a little bit of pop, he's a tremendous base stealer, what he's best at is limiting the run game. It's going to be very interesting for a Beacons team without the pop of Dave Murphy and Chris Fowler from a year ago, if they can continue their string of being successful in the base pass. They went 9 for 9 in that win over Farmingdale State this past Friday.
Of course, with different things that they've done with the bats over the years, the run game has become even more important, and that one fouled off and sprayed down the right side once again. Count 2-2. 2 outs here in the inning, but on the flip side, look at what Fashempour has done to start this game. He's looked very impressive. Hasn't missed the zone very often.
No, and I like the fact that, with the exception of this pitch, he's been moving quickly. Because when it's cold out, the quicker you move, the more strikes you throw, the better it is for your fielders to stay warm, the more confidence your group has. And that was very close to being strike 3 there on the breaking ball.
That one barely missed. Might have missed just a tad bit low. Here's the next one, the 3-2. Swung on and grounded through the right side. That's going to be the first hit of the contest as Bosco is aboard. And again, you mentioned it, Seth. This is a team in Roger Williams that has had a bit of a slow start, but right now they have tried to figure out the bats as of late, and Bosco is probably going to be a guy that they're going to really look towards to do that.
Yeah, I mean, Bosco's that senior leader, all-region player. That time he got lucky. Ryan Leung read that ball really poorly off the bat. It sliced back towards the first base bag. If he had had a better read on that, I think he easily would have made the play. He's just been such a solid player, but unable to read that one.
This one skied out to shallow left and having to make the catch, and it was a tough play there that came out by Hughie, but he comes out to make the grab, and UMass Boston able to strand a runner in the top of the first inning. So bottom of the first coming up for the Beacons. We take one more look at the starting lineup for UMass Boston and what they will have coming to the plate. And Seth, this is a lineup that has been explosive to this point at times for the Beacons. And again, it starts right at the top with Eddie Riley.
Yeah, I mean, Eddie Riley has been a tremendous player for UMass Boston, but you see it for UMass Boston. The first 4 guys in that lineup, all seniors. Ryan McCormick, just a junior, but an all-region player a season ago, and then that bottom 4, that's what I'm interested to see. With the Beacons not having as much pop this year, they're going to need 1 through 9 production, and thus far you have a pair of freshmen who have earned their spots, and a pair of upperclassmen who've done a decent job. I'd like to see a little bit more out of Danny Brown, and Charlie Hughie is what he is, a tremendous defender who comes through with a lot of clutch hits, but he's not going to be a 350, 375 hitter for you.
We've seen a couple of guys, some younger players step up, including Kides, who will hit in the order today. He'll be doing the catching today for UMass Boston. And on the bump for this team for Roger Williams, it's going to be Sapienza, who, again, he's had a bit of a rough go of things early, but he started to kind of find his way here so far this year in just a couple of appearances.
Yeah, you look at Sapienza making his second start, third total appearance, 1-0 with a 7.50 ERA, 6 innings, 12 hits, 9 runs, just 5 earned. So could use a little bit more help from his defense. 6 strikeouts versus 4 walks. The issue is opponents are hitting 400 against Sapienza. That is a really bad total, even as few innings as he's pitched. You've got to clean that up, and we'll see how he does against the Beacons team that has been hitting the ball pretty well as of late. Just a freshman, so this is a interesting place. It shows the confidence that his team has in him to get the start against the top 25 team like UMass Boston.
So UMass Boston will come to the plate for their first at-bats, and as you mentioned, a couple of impressive wins against Washington and Jefferson, and then Farmingdale State, 2 10-1 victories in those ball games. And really, besides that, Seth, you look at the first couple of games that UMass Boston had on that Florida trip. Offense wasn't the problem, putting up a total combined. They start with 6 runs, then the 9 against St. John Fisher, and then 8 runs to close out that series. So a couple of games where they really hit the ball well, just struggled to get some stops against St. John Fisher.
Yeah, I think it was really the middle of the trip that the Bats were really scuffling. That loss to Wheaton College was rough. The Beacons easily could have won that one if they had hit a little bit better. Webster University, another nationally ranked team they fell to. And even the game against Keystone, UMass Boston didn't hit all that well there. They just pitched extremely well. So it'll be interesting to see if the Bats come back, because they don't always come back from Florida when you're talking about 70, 80 degrees versus today where we're just around 40 at game time with the temperature quickly dropping.
Of course, they had to move this game up due to the temperature, but able to get the games in, and that's always the key, especially around this time, is finding a way to get these games played. Because down the stretch, you don't want to be playing a lot of those non-conference games just to get games on the slate, but sometimes that's how it has to work. And we're still awaiting that first pitch to Eddie Riley, who will lead things off for UMass Boston. Cesare and Bodris will follow.
It's interesting right now, our home plate umpire, Tom Ryberg, is having a conversation with both teams' coaches. I don't know if there was a substitution issue or if potentially the umpire sees something that he doesn't think is playable, but a little bit of a conversation. Might actually be a Roger Williams issue.
And I'm not sure what the issue is, but it doesn't look like Roger Williams was satisfied with the response.
It might be the radar gun. So one of the Beacons substitutes is illegally wearing baseball attire in the stands, and that caused a little bit of an issue. Had an issue last year here at Monon Park during the NCAA Regionals when a Ramapo player was using binoculars out in right field just trying to see the play, and clearly there was some concerns about potentially stealing signs.
Pitch misses downstairs, and it counts 1-0 on Riley. Of course, UMass Boston, a impressive run into that NCAA tournament. Pitch on the way. Swing by Riley, and he ropes that one out into right center. And it'll get down. We'll see if he tries for extra bases here. He'll take a big turn and head on back to first. But Eddie Riley with a big hit for UMass Boston to open this game up. And he's a guy, Seth, that can really hit the baseball, and especially has had success as of late.
Yeah, he had 4 two-hit games down in Florida. Started hot and then went through a back-to-back 0 for 4 games. So it's good to see him continue to hit. And what Riley does so well is that he's got a ton of pop, runs pretty well out of the leadoff spot. So if he can set the table for UMass Boston, then you've got a number of guys who can come through. And let's take a look at that leadoff single for Riley. Just see such a clean swing. Wind is blowing in today. You're not going to see a ton of extra base hits. So the Beacons are looking to hit line drives today, although typically that's a pretty good aim for any baseball team.
And really for UMass Boston, that was an area of success down in Florida. Again, they come off 2 games in which they scored 10 runs, and they check on Riley, who had a very large lead through that first pitch that was thrown by Sapienza back to the plate. And Sapienza, again, the numbers haven't been there so far this year. 6 innings pitched so far. He's given up 12 hits. Next pitch misses for a ball, and the count is 1-1.
And it makes sense to pay a lot of attention to Riley over there at first base. 7 for 7 on the base pass. Wasn't a huge base stealer last year, but had a really nice trip in Florida on the base pass, and that one's thrown away.
They throw it away, and Riley will coast into second. We'll see if he'll try for third. He's on his way, and there doesn't look like there's going to be a throw. Riley slides in head first, and UMass Boston, after an errant throw by Sapienza, will now have a runner in scoring position and 90 feet away.
And I don't like that move by Sapienza. Don't worry about the base runner. You have Chris Bosco, who led the entire nation last year with 29 runners thrown out. Trust your guy behind the plate. Just let him worry about the base runner. Keep the guy honest, but throws the ball away. There's so much room in this replica Fenway Park, and that's easy to move Riley over. Now the Beacons can score a run without getting another base hit.
Here's the pitch, and that one is a breaking ball in there for a strike. And Anthony Cesare will now await a 2-2 offering. Again, finding a way to get runners home in scoring position in a game where, like you mentioned, the wind playing a little bit of a factor. Sit on the ground towards the right side. Couldn't do it any better that time. It'll be an RBI for Cesare, and that will bring home Eddie Riley. And that will be the first run of the game for UMass Boston.
Yeah, and then that's tough for Sapienza because his defense let him down again, but this time it was his defense that was the culprit. He's only given up 5 earned runs this year, but now his total is 10 total total runs allowed, and now he has to face the middle of the Beacons lineup that does have a bit of pop with Boudris and Herzog to follow.
First pitch to Boudris is going to be in there for a called strike. Counts 0-1. Boudris played in 46 games last year. The numbers were very impressive, over 300. Misses outside, and it's 1-1.
This was actually a bad trip for Boudris, who has been such a consistent hitter for the Beacons. Career .346 hitter with 194 hits. He only went 8 for 29, 276, a guy who's never hit lower than .335 for his career. He did have 2 RBI, so he's sitting exactly on 100 RBI versus just 50 strikeouts.
Next pitch to him is grounded through the right side, and, well, UMass Boston has had success on the right side of the infield so far early. Able to bring home that run on the right side and also 2 base hits now through that right side.
And realistically, I like the fact that Boudris just went with the pitch, put it up the middle. I mean, that's a really difficult play. There's a lot of space to cover up the middle for this Roger Williams defense. And we've seen both of these teams struggle a little bit with the reads off the bat. We saw Leung struggle in the first inning, or the top of the first, and that time it was Dominguez who couldn't quite read it off the bat of Boudris.
So now stepping in, it'll be Herzog that will come in to hit. Playing out in right field today. Again, the RBI be credited to Cesare, so UMass Boston in front 1-0. First pitch, a strike. And again, this is UMass Boston team that jumped out to 10 runs in their 2 final wins down there in Florida. Pitch in there for a strike, and the count is 1-2. And Seth Sapienza, he's had his struggles so far early in this game, giving up a couple of the hits so far, but it's been the error that has kind of highlighted his appearance so far that allowed Eddie Riley to head all the way around to third base.
If he doesn't throw that ball away, that might have been a double play ball of the Boudris hit up the middle, because second baseman would have been playing up the middle as Herzog swings and misses. It was such a key game changer, and right now, unless McCormick is able to pick up a hit, the Beacons wouldn't have scored. And when you're Roger Williams and you're going through a run of 5 straight losses where you're outscored by 40 runs, the last thing you want to do is fall behind early to a good hitting team.
Herzog, another guy who has really contributed throughout his career as a member of the Beacons, and the first pitch is in there for a strike to McCormick, who steps in for his first plate appearance. Next pitch just a little bit outside. That'll move the count to 1-1. McCormick, a junior out of Rhode Island. 8 games this year. He's been someone that has struggled a little bit for UMass Boston out of the gates.
Hit 354 last year, but started the season in Florida 0 for 16. He's picked it up a little bit. 3 hits in his last 7 at-bats, so he's up to 130. The good thing for McCormick is that he did go 2 for 3 with 2 runs scored, 2 RBI, a walk, and 2 stolen bases against Farmingdale State. So hopefully he can capitalize on that and continue his little bit of a hot streak.
That pitch looked maybe just a tad bit off the plate, but home plate umpire thought otherwise, and McCormick will sit now on a 2-2 count. 2 down here in the inning. Bottom half of the first, UMass Boston has pushed one across. That one down low. Now the throw by Bosco, and you see the arm talent there, but sliding in safely just ahead of the tag is Boudris, and even caught Bosco off guard on a breaking ball down in the dirt. Boudris, a little bit of a late steal, but Bosco unable to get him at second.
Yeah, the Beacons recognized that it was likely to be a breaking ball. They took advantage because Kyle Boudris has 4 career stolen bases in 144 games. It's not his game, but the Beacons willing to take that risk, recognizing the count. Plus, these blustery wins, it's a little bit more difficult to get that ball down as quickly with Bosco's phenomenal arm.
McCormick now with the runner in scoring position, coming off a third-team all-region season. All-conference second-team catcher. That one will miss outside, and it will draw a walk. First of the game for either side. McCormick will be aboard as Kides will come to the plate.
And Nico Kides is a guy that all of the Beacons were raving about after their Florida trip. Kides did not appear in the Beacons' first 2 games against St. John Fisher, then appeared the next 3 and 5 of the last 6. What did he do? Hits in all 5, a home run in his first collegiate start. He's hitting a robust 375 with 2 doubles, a home run, 5 RBI. And he's a guy who might stay in the starting lineup because of his defense, but if his bat can continue to hit this well, could be a huge addition to this Beacons lineup.
That's something, especially at this level, you learn a lot about your freshmen when you head to that Florida trip. A lot of guys that may not see a ton of playing time to start the year, but then towards the end of the trip, you start needing some extra fuel, extra bodies. It's a lot of games that are played down in Florida. You want to cram as many in as you can. Breaking ball in there for a strike, and it's quickly 0-2. And some guys, including Kides, take their opportunities and make the most of it, and so far he's put himself in the starting lineup in their first game up here in New England. Here's the 0-2 offering. That one missing outside, and it moves to 1-2.
Yeah, nice job there by Kides, recognizing that they were just trying to get him to extend the strike zone a little bit. 5 strikeouts in 5 games.
And the next pitch, a strikeout that will go for Sapienza, and that will end the inning. But UMass Boston pushing one across. They get a run, and they lead it 1-0 here at Monin Park.
The University of Massachusetts Boston. It's just minutes from downtown, and the Princeton Review calls it one of the best values in the country. A nationally recognized institution of academic excellence and research, UMass Boston offers more than 150 undergraduate and graduate programs, 16 Division III sports, and more than 100 student organizations. To learn more about the opportunities waiting for you at UMass Boston, visit in person or online.
Welcome back to Monin Park. UMass Boston in front by a score of 1-0. Elijah Gonzalez, Seth Orensky alongside. It'll be Eli Kamner that will come in to lead off to start this frame for Roger Williams. And back out on the mound after a very impressive first inning is Fashempour. And the first pitch misses outside for a ball, and the count is 1-0. And Seth, through that first inning, you mentioned that this coaching staff was very high on Dylan Fashempour coming into their time up here in Boston. And we saw that in the first inning. Sugi will field and fire to first a bit high, but able to keep his foot on the bag is Boudris, and that'll be out number 1.
It's a nice play by Kyle Boudris. That's a big question mark this year. How does Boudris adjust to the big glove? His first 2 years was the everyday third baseman, lost his job last year after injuring his hamstring. He was the everyday DH. Now he's playing at first base. Had a couple hiccups down in Florida, but that was a nice job to hold the bag. It's not your prototypical big first baseman, but the Beacons need his bat in the lineup. And if he can play first base, it gives you the ability to have an Anthony Cesare in the lineup or a Ryan McCormick in the lineup with some better defensive players. So it's good to see Boudris making a play like that, especially with the sun in his eyes.
0-1 the count, and a breaking ball in there for a strike to make it 0-2. Cedeno didn't like it, but called a strike anyway. And it's quickly 0-2, and you mentioned Fashempour working very quickly on the mound. Next one, a fastball staying upstairs, and the count moves to 1-2. He's probably trying to stay warm, a guy out of California. Hasn't probably played a ton of games in his career in this kind of cold.
You would know better than I, but Redlands, California, I would believe would be Northern California, so a little bit colder.
Yes,
than,
but not much.
No, we're not talking Vancouver, but certainly a slight difference from Southern California to Northern California. Nothing can get you prepared for New England baseball temperatures.
And this one pops straight up. Fashempour will move out of the way, and Eddie Riley coming all the way from third base across the diamond to make the play, and that will be out number 2. And just for the reference for people at home in Redlands, California today, it's 76 degrees. So I don't think it's as close as we had expected.
Yeah, maybe dead of winter in Redlands, California, plus an unseasonably cold spell.
Pitch on the way. That one is lined out into center. Moving over and going to make the grab is Brown, and that will end the inning for UMass Boston. 1, 2, 3 go the Hawks in the top half of the second. We'll head to the bottom half of the second with UMass Boston in front, 1-0.
Something I discovered in myself is that if I have a goal, I can accomplish it.
It's a well-rounded experience.
At a Division III school, you primarily a student athlete, so the school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual.
It helps a lot that you have a family with your team that can guide you.
I just wanted to get good grades and to do well, but it also made me realize that I have a lot of career goals.
You're there to get a full college experience, not only participate in your sport, but participate in things outside of that, and it's all about growing as a person.
My coaches have helped me with figuring out who I really am. Their lives are dedicated for us to succeed.
Welcome back to Monin Park. UMass Boston in front 1-0. And back out on the mound is Sapienza for his second inning of work here for the Roger Williams Hawks. Well, Roger Williams, they come in at 3-6 on the year. And again, this is a team that saw a lot of Case Western Reserve out of Cleveland, including a 19-1 loss against Case Western. But we're able to rebound with a couple of wins on that trip. And it's ironic because after that tough loss, or before the tough loss, I should say, they were able to find a way to get the win against Case Western in 2 games this year. First pitch is going to be called a ball, and it's 1-0 on Danny Brown, the center fielder for UMass Boston.
Brown's another one of those players who we heard from Eddie Riley during our pregame with the Beacon Spotlight. Another guy who's had to work to earn his spot. His freshman year, he transferred in mid-year from Division I UMass. Sophomore year, hurt his knee right first week of practice. Would have been seeing a decent amount of time. splitting starts out in center field, and then this season has finally earned that spot with Sal Frascino graduating and has been playing consistently out there in center.
Next pitch to him is fouled off his foot. And it will move to 2-2 on Danny Brown out of Hudson, New Hampshire. Mentioned the 21 games he played in last year. On base percentage that was very impressive, over 500 on the year getting on base. This time he grounds it out towards short. Fielded cleanly by Hoban on the run, able to make the throw. And there's one down here in the inning. And Sapienza, a guy who we saw gave up a couple of hits, but it was that trying to keep an eye on the runner. And like you mentioned, when you have Bosco behind the plate, there's not a lot of times that you have to do that.
No, and the other thing is, as good as Eddie Riley is, as quick as he is, he's not one of the Beacon's elite base stealers. I mean, when you have Charlie Hughey on the roster, a guy who steals 20 to 25 bases, that's a guy you have to help your catcher out with. I don't think Eddie Riley's a guy that you have to constantly be throwing over to. And that two-base error was crucial. It gave the Beacons some confidence. They got a run, and it also essentially put Roger Williams in a big hole, and Anthony Cesare had a much easier job to do. Sapienza, a guy who's been giving up way too many base runners, and when you're going to give up base runners, you have to not snowball affect that kind of play by making a crucial mistake either mentally or, in that case, physically by throwing it away.
It's quickly 1-2 here on Ryan LeYoung. Another young player, and you mentioned the bottom of this order and trying to figure out who's going to bring that production. And the pitch is going to be ruled a strike. They say that he went around, and that will be the second out of the inning as LeYoung goes down on the strikeout.
LeYoung's another guy who nobody would have expected would start the Beacons home opener. Ryan Collins, highly touted junior college transfer for UMass Boston out of Northern Essex Community College. Supposed to be the starter and started opening day, but he struggled a ton in Florida. And LeYoung, the one thing the Beacons love about him, extremely consistent player on both sides. You saw UMass Boston's first base coach, Daniel Gamble, thought that was a terrible call. Couldn't believe that they said LeYoung went around. Kind of looked up here like it was closer to a 50-50 call. To me, it looked like LeYoung may have just gone a little bit too far.
Well, Hughey now leads the count 2-0. Hughey, another guy that comes into this one, and the pitch to him misses low for a ball. With some experience, a senior. This has been a roster for UMass Boston that's full of guys with experience, but also at this level, especially, you need some depth. Count 3-1 on Hughey, and we've mentioned some guys, some freshmen that have stepped up, and they found that depth so far this year.
Well, and Hughey was kind of a similar player his freshman year as the backup catcher.
That one flied out to right, and it's going to be caught by Bonavita, and that will end the inning. So Sapienza settles down through that second frame, and it's no runs, no hits, and no errors on the board. It's UMass Boston in front 1-0 for Monin Park.
College has given me the flexibility to pursue my passions and my interests, and I've recreated my identity for myself aside from just being an athlete.
My greatest personal discovery has been that I am capable of doing things that I didn't know I was capable of doing.
To be able to study what I wanted to and continue to play the sport I love, all of those things came together very nicely in one package in Division III.
I'm the first undergraduate alumnus to lead this university. I'm very proud of that. I was literally able to transform my life because of the University of Massachusetts, and I want that for every single student that walks through the door.
And welcome back to Monin Park. Elijah Gonzalez and Seth Orensky alongside. You take a look at the upcoming schedule for the UMass Boston Beacons. And Seth, it's a non-conference matchup against St. Joseph's, but then it's right into conference play, and it feels like it's just right around the corner.
Yeah, this is such a fun tune-up between Roger Williams, and then tomorrow, 11-0, St. Joseph's College of Maine, second in the country in terms of most wins without a loss behind Washington College of Maryland. You've got Keene State picked 8th out of 9, but then a huge matchup against rival UMass Dartmouth next Tuesday. I mean, Beacons start their home schedule with 8 consecutive home games. They'll only have 7 the rest of the actually maybe 9 the rest of the way. So this is a huge chance for the Beacons to gain some momentum. These next 2 days could be a chance to keep the bats moving before they face some really good pitchers on Saturday and then next Tuesday.
Of course, every single team in the top 25 right now has a loss on their resume. Pitch in there for a strike, and it's a breaking ball. It's now 0-2 quickly on the leadoff man in this inning, Justin Stone, the designated hitter.
Stone's a guy who's barely seen any time this season. Just 2 for 4, but 2 for 4 hitting 500. They're giving him another chance. He did go 2 for 3 in his last game that lost to Trinity, Connecticut back on the 16th of March.
And again, when you're a team like Roger Williams, you've got that losing streak and it's early in the season. You want to find what that core group's going to be for conference play. That one fouled off. And the count's 1-2. And again, that is a lot of what, as we've seen throughout the years in Division III baseball, that's what separated a lot of these teams that ended up going very far to the national tournament, of course, to that World Series. But it's the depth, especially when you get into days where you're going back-to-back. You're able to find those freshmen that come out and give you some solid innings. Pitch on the way and a swing and a miss. And right now, Fashempour has been dominant thus far.
And the crazy part is the Beacons came in with a pretty obvious top 5 in terms of their starting pitchers. Bring back both weekend starters in JT Morin and Fernando Burgos. Bring back your solid 3 in Joey Rogers. Then you got Tyler Aruda, a guy who started the LAC tournament championship game. Got Joe McGuire, a senior, who they said, okay, we're going to make you into a starter. You did so well over the summer. But again, keep talking about the confidence, not only that Fashempour is showing, but that Daniel Gamble and Brendan Aguirre have in him. He's earned this start today with a little bit of a couple guys banged up. But either way, I mean, if he continues to pitch the way he's pitched thus far, he's a guy who's going to see key midweek starts because he's been so consistent.
2-0 the count. That one is fouled off, and it's 2-1. Of course, this conference for UMass Boston does have some talent in it, including number 10 team in the country in Southern Maine, who made a deep run last year to the NCAA Regional Championship before they fell to Swarthmore to Pennsylvania. That one misses high and inside, and the count's 3-1. Couple of very talented teams, though, throughout this conference.
You look at the Little East Conference, and I think it's not too far to say that it's one of the top 5 conferences in Division III baseball as Hoban works the walk. Not only do you have UMass Boston and Southern Maine, 2 teams who consistently are not only making it to the regionals, but making runs to the regionals. Both teams losing in the regional final last year. UMass Boston, New England, and Southern Maine up in New York. But you have another team in Eastern Connecticut State who's a regional power, has won some national championships. UMass Dartmouth has been regionally ranked the last couple of years. There were 5 regionally ranked teams in the Little East last year going into the conference tournament, and then you had Castleton, who all they've done the last 5 years is win the North Atlantic Conference every season. So the top 6 in the Little East should be really, really good this year. The question is, can another team sneak in and be part of that top 6, or will it be kind of cut and dry with Plymouth State, Rhode Island College, and Keene State falling by the wayside?
Pitch misses upstairs, and it's 2-0, and that is, like you mentioned, something that a lot of college conferences can't say. You see a lot of at-large bids coming in from Little East Conference, but also from different areas in the country, and that's why for UMass Boston, these freshmen that can step up and get these mid-week wins, and you make that record look very appealing if you don't end up winning the Little East Conference and are able to take that at-large bid. That one is fouled off.
Well, the other thing is a lot of the LAC teams have a similar strategy in scheduling. It's playing the top teams in the region. You see Southern Maine, they're playing a lot of nationally ranked teams in Florida. The Beacons did the same. UMass Dartmouth did the same. If you play that high level of competition, get that strength of schedule up, and then you're playing all these other nationally ranked teams and regionally ranked teams, gives you a real chance statistically to get 1, if not 2, at-large bids. The LAC is one of the few teams in New England that consistently has a shot to get an at-large bid. In fact, 2016, when the Beacons got in, they were the only at-large bid out of New England. So when it comes to New England, it's pretty obvious that it's the Little East and then everybody else.
Well, and you want to talk about testing yourself. For Roger Williams, they have a very tough schedule this year. When you talk about the regional teams, 3-1 now the count on the leadoff man, Gulino. But you talk about what they bring to the table. They have that game at UMass Boston. Then they play their next one against UMass Dartmouth, the team that you talked about trying to make their rise, and the count now 3-2. But then you mix in nationally ranked Babson to that, and then also UMass Boston at home as well. So their non-conference and their conference slate, it's no easy task.
Well, the CCC has some really talented teams. The Commonwealth Coast Conference, you got a very talented team in Western New England. That was close on the pickoff throw, aiming to get Hoban over there at first. And then you've got Endicott, who's consistently good. So you have to test yourself out of conference to get yourself ready, because the CCC is likely only going to be a one-bid conference, so you have to be ready to play and beat those top teams.
Runner takes off, and it's a called third strike. Galino thought that was ball 4. He tossed the bat, but it's going to be a backwards K, and Hoban will move into second on the stolen base. He was taking off on the pitch. So that will now put Bonavita with a runner in scoring position and 2 outs, and this is the first time that we'll see really a situation where Fashempour kind of has to work with a runner in that position. And a little bit out of a jam, you could say. Breaking ball misses upstairs. Going back to the Little East Conference, the preseason poll, UMass Boston taking it by 1 point, 61-60 over Southern Maine. Of course, they'll have a road test against Southern Maine on April 16th. And they'll see Southern Maine at home on April 9th, and a throwback behind the runner, testing Hoban and his distance off the base. But nothing doing that time as Hoban is back sliding in safely.
Fashempour has a pretty good move for a right-handed pitcher. Both times he's been able to not only get it there close enough to make it look like a bang-bang play, but his location on those throws, both times putting in a spot where the outfielder or the infielder had a chance.
That's going to be a base hit out in left field. And the throw in from left is a good one from McCormick. It holds the runner at third, but it's going to be runners at the corners with 2 outs after the single by Bonavita.
And the benefit there of having McCormick, who typically would be the Beacons catcher, but Kaides has proven to be a slight upgrade defensively. McCormick not only is a bit of a faster player than you see in Anthony Cesare, but he's got a gun out there in left field, so that made it really difficult to even think about sending Hoban with 2 outs.
And Ben Bonavita has now picked up his 9th hit of the year after that last one. Coming in and trying to produce on a Roger Williams team that, again, is looking for some offense. Breaking ball is in there for his strike, and he had Bosco fooled. Bosco thought that one was coming right at him.
Let's take a look at that last play really quickly and just see how quickly McCormick got it back in. It was a nice piece of hitting from Bonavita, and then you see McCormick able to get it back in as we're back to live action.
Bosco flies this one out to center. Moving back is Danny Brown, and that will end the inning. A slap of the glove for Fashempour as he heads off the rubber. Still 1-0 UMass Boston with 2 stranded by the Hawks.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
I think there's more opportunities for academic scholarships in Division III.
I did receive academic scholarships. Just being involved on campus, being a leader, all those things combined kind of get me recognized. It's a great experience for me.
Cheer for the stumbles. The he shoulda had that's. And the tears that linger. For in those moments, greatness lies. There, you will find the provoked, the determined, the unified. It's in those moments that champions are born.
Welcome back to Monin Park. UMass Boston in front by a score of 1-0 over Roger Williams. And the first game here in New England for UMass Boston after coming off a trip to Florida and a final win against Farmingdale State in their final victory of the campaign down in Florida. It'll be Danny Roth that will lead things off in the next frame, but for UMass Boston, it will be back to the top of the order, and Eddie Riley that'll lead things off, and then it'll be Anthony Cesare that will follow, followed by Boudris. And first inning was where they got their production. It was Cesare who brought home Riley on the ground out to second. And Eddie Riley, who singled to start the game, but on a ball that was hitting the gap where he took a big turn, was looking for two. And he'll step in and face pitcher on the mound, Sapienza.
Yeah, I'd like to see the Beacons put a little bit more pressure on Sapienza, who's retired 5 of his last 6 after giving up a pair of singles in the first inning. Can the Beacons not allow Sapienza to get into a groove? Because that's the last thing you want to do. Keep Roger Williams in this game for a little bit longer, and then all it takes is a fluke play or a wind gust, and all of a sudden you have a tie game, or the Hawks are back into the lead.
Sapienza, a freshman from Massachusetts, so he's seen a lot of cold weather throughout his career, unlike Fashempour on the other side. Count 1-1 to Eddie Riley. This one is swung on and lined out down the left field line, and that's going to fall and possibly roll for extra bases. Riley, he's on his way to second. Throw to the cutoff man, and to second is not in time. Eddie Riley has himself his second hit of the day and a double. And Seth, we talked about what Eddie Riley can do with the bat, and it's shown so far in this one.
Yeah, caught this one off the end of the bat. Didn't get a ton of it, but that actually helped him out. Galeno was shaded towards the left field line a little bit. Just couldn't get over there in time as it died just in front of him. And we'll take a look at the replay after this first pitch. So that was a nice piece of hitting from Riley to get the Beacons. It's only the third base runner the Beacons have had in scoring position.
We saw Sapienza worried about Riley last time. We'll see. Pitch here. They kind of left it out over the middle of the plate just a little bit too much, and Riley, good chunk of it, able to send that one out into left. That pitch down in the dirt. They throw back behind Riley. Great throw by Bosco, and it's just a little bit late.
If that ball didn't bounce, I think they had Riley. It was just that little short hop that allowed him to get his hand underneath, and that's the issue. Bosco has such a strong arm. Remember, coming into this game, he'd thrown out 5 of 7 would-be base runners, had 29 caught stealing a season ago, which is scary because you'd figure after a certain amount of games where he's throwing out all these guys, teams would stop running on him. So he probably did it. He probably also had a pretty high caught stealing rate as well.
All CCC second team for the last 2 seasons for the Hawks. That pitch down in the dirt. Riley going to take off, and he's out by a mile. Tag applied over at third base, and well, I think Bosco had probably the easiest out of the season right there.
Yeah, and that's tough because Riley saw the ball bounce in the turf and thought, okay, I've got a chance, but Bosco immediately found it that time, and it was just too easy as Cesare took the ball forward, but that's not a trade you want to take if you're the Beacons. Instead of having 2 on with no outs, you have a slower base runner over there at first base, and now Beacons are going to need another hit or two to potentially score a run in this half inning.
So Boudris will step into the box. And the pitch on the way from Sapienza, breaking ball in there for his strike. And, well, Eddie Riley comes up with the hit, but caught stealing that time by Bosco. And now Sapienza may be able to work out of this inning. One down here in the frame. Pitch in there for a strike, and the count is now 0-2 quickly on Boudris. And he looks a lot more composed out of the stretch in this inning than he did through that first frame after Riley reached base the last time. That one misses outside, and the count is 1-2. But it's really just been when Riley has been aboard. Even with runners on base the last few batters, he hasn't struggled as much, but he's been very worried about Riley pretty much every time he's been on. Boudris swings and grounds this to second. This could be 2. Throw to second for 1, on to first, and a double play that will end the inning. So UMass Boston able to get a couple of runners aboard, but nothing doing. They still lead at 1-0 as we head to the top half of the 4th inning.
Division III allows you to give yourself to other things.
Having that free time allows me to pursue the things that I want to pursue.
Division III athletics affords students the opportunity to, engage in the other interests in their campus and in their lives outside of that sport.
It allows you to just be able to do everything you want to do. I wouldn't change it for the world.
I'm a Division III student athlete, and I know how powerful words can be. The term gay doesn't mean stupid, lame, or less than.
So I pledge to speak up if I hear the term gay used in a derogatory way or any other homophobic terms.
If you can play in Division.
Joined by head coach Brendan Igro. Coach, a pair of freshmen out of your freshman who has seemingly handled the pressure here of a home opener pretty well.
Yeah, Fash is a good young arm. He throws a lot of strikes. I think if he continues to work down and work ahead, I think he'll do well. I thought he let up a little bit last inning to the bottom of the order, but I think he's looked good so far. Yeah, I mean, he's got a good slider. We got to stay disciplined, stay middle of the field. But I think got to have good quality at bats. Hopefully we can get it going.
Thanks for your time, Coach.
Welcome back inside the press box. That was head coach Brendan Igebroat talking with Seth Orensky about Fashempour so far on the mound. He's looked very impressive to this point. And it's been a good evening so far for UMass Boston. Count 0-2. It's 1-0. Although some runners have been left stranded through that last inning. Riley was caught stealing, and then the walk to Cesare, and a great breaking ball that falls in for Fashempour, and that will be a strikeout. And another one to chalk up for Fashempour in this game, and he's now got 4 on the evening. So that'll be stepping into the plate, Eli Kamner. That'll come in. Boudreaux ended the last inning with a double play for UMass Boston. That one grounded foul. Kamner 0 for 1. He grounded out. This was the part of the order that Fashempour had zero problem with. And a ground out, a pop out, and a line out. To the next 3 hitters that will come to the plate for Roger Williams. Here's the next offering. Another breaking ball, and that one is lifted down the right field line. Moving over and making the grab out there and right is Herzog, and that will be out number 2. So a very quick inning to this point for Fashempour, and he has looked very good so far for UMass Boston. We just heard Seth talking about that and what he's done as a freshman so far in this spot for the Beacons. Very pleased right now as the coaching staff with what he's done. That one fouled off down the line. Cedeno will have to come back and do it again. Roger Williams just has seemingly not found a way to get anything going offensively. Here's the next offering. That one is called a strike. It's 0-2. Great breaking ball on that last strikeout by Fashempour. That's what he has had as a go-to pitch for his second one. That one a little bit wild there, and it's 1-2.
Yeah, that's already 4 strikeouts for Fashempour in 3 2/3 innings. Came in with a strikeout per 9 of over 10 and continues to just show really good strikeout stuff, which when you're not giving up many base runners makes it really difficult to score runs.
And a swing and a miss, and he's got another. That's a strikeout to the side for Fashempour, and that will end the top half of the 4th inning. An impressive start so far for Dylan Fashempour. UMass Boston coming to the plate, up 1-0.
UMass Boston was my first choice because when I came to the campus, I saw that there was a lot of diversity. There's a lot of people. Here there is a lot of international students, so it's really cool to meet people from different countries, different parts of the world. I'm Julia Murphy. I'm from Canton, Massachusetts.
I'm Olivia Murphy. I'm from Canton, Massachusetts.
We're sisters.
We're sisters.
I play volleyball and she plays basketball. Here they have a freshman success community. So each major has their own community that you can join as a freshman, and you take classes with them, you do study groups with them. So it was really helpful getting to know people in your major right away.
So in health exercise sciences, we have an internship at the end, where it's so much better to have like an advisor helping you out, like telling you which classes to choose.
And welcome back to Monin Park. Elijah Gonzalez, Seth Orensky alongside as UMass Boston has a 1-0 lead, and it's been thanks to an impressive start by Fashempour and a 1-2-3 inning, his second so far of the game. And he has been really lights out, but on the flip side, it's been both pitchers as Sapienza's had his fair share of success through these last couple of innings, and once again, we see another good breaking ball to start off. It's 0-1 on Herzog.
Yeah, Sapienza's done a nice job of keeping the Beacons batters off balance. He's not going to overpower you. He doesn't have a plus fastball, but he's done a nice job of confusing the batters. And there's another pitch where Herzog didn't get much of it, but it's going to work out.
That might be more than likely ruled a hit. That was off the glove, off the heel by Hoban, but he was going to need a very good play, and they will rule that a single for Herzog, so he's aboard. And now, Seth, the question becomes, can they find a way to get these runners home? That's been the struggle so far in this game. They left one out there in the first inning, and then, of course, in that inning where Eddie Riley had a little bit of a miscue on the base paths, trying to take off on Bosco. One misses outside, and it's 1-0. Well, we've seen the arm strength of Bosco and what he can do behind the plate, which has caused the run game to slow down for the Beacons.
Well, I think this is an interesting situation. I think you're going to see Beacons in movement, whether it's a hit and run, a straight steal. Herzog is incredibly fast, 7 of 8 this year, 38 stolen bases, and he takes off here.
And they will not have a play at second because of it. So just one out in the inning. McCormick will move the runner over on the ground out to second. And now, once again, if you're the Beacons, you have to be saying third base better be wide open, and that ball better be far away from Bosco.
Yeah, now you need your freshman Nico Caides to either get a hit here or move up Herzog in some way. Freshman, his first at-bat struck out looking. Can you do something productive in this at-bat to advance Herzog up 90 feet?
Here's the first pitch to him. That's a breaking ball in there for a strike. You talk about mixing pitches. He's done it well so far to this point. Count is quickly 0-1. Next offering on the way. That's another breaking ball in there for a strike. It's 0-2.
It's that backdoor curveball that has really caused the Beacons batters some problems. Caides saw that exact same pitch his first at bat. It's really, really hard to do anything with that pitch other than jam yourself and hit the ball weakly down the left side.
The 0-2 and time called before that can happen.
It's almost at this point, if you're a Beacons batter, you need to wait on the fastball. Fastball's not going to overpower you, maybe you can drive that pitch because the breaking balls have been tough to hit.
That was the pitch as the pitch misses outside from Sapienza that Eddie Riley got a good chunk of down the left field line. And in the first inning, that was also the hit that he had on the single in the gap. Swing and a miss by Caides. Another breaking ball. Bosco looks back the runner and fires to first. And quickly, Sapienza may be getting out of this jam once again. 2 down here in the inning.
Yeah, Caides has had 2 pretty much identical at-bats, fall behind 0-2 with the second pitch being that backdoor curveball, then get a ball on a pitch that was intentionally far out of the zone, and then strike out on the fourth pitch. This time struck out swinging, but just hasn't been able to do a ton today against Sapienza, and it's up to Danny Brown to potentially score Herzog.
So Danny Brown steps in. Pitch on the way, breaking ball in there for a strike, and it's 0-1.
I mean, the tough part for Sapienza is that backdoor breaking ball is not going to be a backdoor on the lefties. It actually comes right across the plate, but Brown was probably looking first pitch fastball.
That one a second pitch, and it's the same pitch. 0-2 the count.
So this would be a very frustrating. I mean, the Beacons have put base runners on in 3 of the first 4 innings, but they haven't been able to score a run since the second batter of the game. Sapienza has been able to kind of settle in too much.
Here's the 0-2, and that one is hit out into left field, and that one will fall just inside the left field line. Brown on his way to second, and it's going to be a double for Danny Brown, and UMass Boston now leads it 2-0 on the RBI single by Brown. Double.
Brown didn't do all that much with it. He took it the opposite way, but again, Galeno couldn't quite get there in time. It was tailing away from him, landed just fair, and the Beacons will take it. It doesn't have to be a hard hit ball, but that's huge for a Beacons team that's already left at this point only 2, but they've been starting innings promisingly and then leaving guys aboard or hitting into inning double plays.
Well, Brown's got his first double of the year and his third RBI of the campaign for UMass Boston. And it's 1-0 quickly on Ryan Leung, who's at the plate now. Pitch in there for a strike with the fastball, and the count's 1-1. And how about this? After he mixed up a couple of curveballs to Brown, and Leung has definitely seen that from the dugout, he's gone fastball to Ryan Leung, and he's looked not ready for it.
Yeah, but that's good pitching, and it's also smart from Leung, recognizing, okay, got to be ready for the curveball. If he brings the fastball back, good on Sapienza and the Roger Williams pitching coach.
There's the breaking ball. It's a little bit outside, and Bosco almost got Brown at second.
Let's take a look right now on that Danny Brown double. Again, didn't get all that much of it, but it was just a perfect placement. A pitch off the zone, off the corner a little bit, but just look how far Galeno has to run, and it lands just in play.
That one a little bit down. They throw back behind Brown again, and Bosco can really wing it from back there. He's had a couple of times where it doesn't even look like he's going to get a shot to get Brown. It's been very close. 3-1, though, the count on Leung. And, again, we talked about sitting on the breaking ball. That time Brown did it. And now Leung's got himself a walk. And just as we thought that Sapienza may be settling in, with 2 down here in the inning, Roger Williams looking to try and stop the bleeding. And you see the success of, right now, the 2 outs in this inning. Brown gets the double. Now Leung is on base. This is the bottom of the part of the order that UMass Boston is looking for that production. And it's a world of a difference when they get that production from the bottom part of the order.
Yeah, that's when the Beacons are really going at their best. That was the story of the 2017 New England Regional when the Beacons' entire lineup hit extremely well, and they swept through en route to their second ever College World Series trip.
1-0 the count on Hughie. Next pitch is in there for a strike, and it's 1-1.
And already we're only in the bottom of the 4th inning, but Sapienza's closing in on 70 pitches. On the other side, Fashempour's through 4, and he's only thrown 52 pitches.
Here's the 1-1 to Hughie, and a breaking ball in there for a strike. Hughie was a big part of that 2017 run. 50 games he played in for UMass Boston during that season. Led the Beacons in stolen bases with 21 on the season. Here's the 1-2, missing outside, and it's 2-2. And you think for UMass Boston, this is a team that you see the veteran leadership and what they have brought to the table. And that's going to be something that a lot of teams, especially as they go into that regional and now before they hit that World Series, swing, and that one is fouled off. It's 2-2. We'll look for their depth, but also look for their veteran leadership as well.
Yeah, and Charlie Hughie is just such a great 9-hole hitter. Tremendous speed, has always been a very clutch hitter, has some decent pop, but is a great two-way player for UMass Boston, one of their most important defenders on the diamond.
Here's the 2-2. Swing by Hughie, and he skies this one out to center. Moving back, Kamner, and he will make the catch, and that will end the inning. The Beacons leave 2, but get 1 on the RBI double from Danny Brown, and UMass Boston in front 2-0 here at Monin Park.
People at UMass Boston, they're here because they know they can have an impact, not just on research, but on people, on their students.
This is just a starting point. It only has potential to grow, and it has a big potential to grow up.
You're really having a direct impact on people's lives, and you can see that now, and you can see that years from now.
So I think it's becoming like the place that people want to go.
What UMass Boston is able to offer to its young people certainly stands out to that mission that was set right out in the beginning. It's something UMass Boston should be and can be very proud about.
So Fashempour will step back onto the rubber with a 2-0 lead here for UMass Boston. And the first pitch is inside for a ball, and the count will move to 1-0. On the right-handed hitting second baseman, Anthony Dominguez, who lined out in his first plate appearance. And, of course, we should note as this one is fouled off by Dominguez, this will be the first year ever in the last couple of years that D3 World Series will no longer be in Appleton, Wisconsin, as it'll move this season. That's been a long-standing tradition at the Division III level.
Yeah, the Beacons have made it twice to Appleton, first in 2010, then in 2017. Got to go on the 2017 trip. Appleton, Wisconsin is a great, great place to go.
Pitch misses outside, and it's 2-1.
Former home of David Ortiz in the minor leagues. Great little, I believe it's Double-A baseball stadium, so has all the amenities. But in terms of the actual city of Appleton, Wisconsin, where all the players stay, there's lots of stuff to do. There's 2 colleges nearby that you can explore.
The 2-2 pitch is a breaking ball that's swung at and missed. It hit the ground, so Dominguez will head to first, but not before the throw is made in time. And that will be out number 1, and Fashempour picking up where he left off. But talk about what it's meant to not only the city, but also to the people of Appleton. They've been upset about the fact that it's going to move, but like you said, it's a great city and a city that hosted for so many years.
Yeah, I mean, until going to Appleton, Wisconsin, I couldn't have told you anything positive or negative, but it was just a phenomenal experience. Each of the teams gets to meet some of the people who have put a lot of time into the tournament. They do a great job. And honestly, there's a lot more going on in the middle of Wisconsin than you would have expected. There was a lot of things to do, and then, I mean, you're only 20 minutes away from Green Bay, Wisconsin, so you can visit the Packers Stadium in Lambeau Field. You're only an hour away from Milwaukee, and it's just a really, really cool place to experience. I mean, it's one of the meccas of college baseball, though. Maybe not this year, but hopefully it'll be heading back to Appleton in the not-so-distant future.
And, of course, it's due to, as we should note, scheduling issues because Division III has now switched their format. So they will be going to the regional, super-regional type atmosphere, which could also be a very interesting change for some teams as well. Pitch misses inside, and it's 1-1. We see a lot of the times some teams, especially at the Division I level, that might not be a team that could make a run to the World Series, but you win a couple of games in the regional, and then the super regional looks a lot different because you've run out of pitching, and it again makes your depth go into play.
Well, I actually think it's the opposite. I think with the regional, super regional, the way that the regionals at Division III used to be, with 8 teams, double elimination, if you didn't win that first or second game, all of a sudden you had to have 5 or 6 starting pitchers to have a chance to come back. Now with a 4-team regional followed by a best-of-3 super regional between 2 teams, you won't really only need 4 or 5 pitchers max to get through a weekend like that. You can win 3 games and get to the super regionals. So the focus is more on can you hit good pitching rather than do you have enough good pitching to get you through, because typically by day 4 of those tournaments you were seeing starter number 4 versus starter number 5, and it was high-scoring games rather than 1-0, 2-1 games.
And it's going to look a little bit different this year in Division III in the playoff format. Well, what hasn't looked different is Dylan Fashempour, who has been superb so far. Another 1-2-3 inning, and UMass Boston in front 2-0. So Eddie Riley steps into the box. UMass Boston in front 2-0, and part of the reason why is the guy at the plate. He's got a run scored and 2 for 2 in this game. Count is 0-1 on Riley. Here's the 0-1 offering. That one missing in tight, and the count moves to 1-1. But UMass Boston so far today, they have gotten a terrific start out of their freshman, Fashempour, who went with back-to-back 1-2-3 innings as Riley skies this one high on the right side. It will drift out into right field and be caught out there in right by Bonavita. And there's one down here in the inning. And it seems like every time that Roger Williams looks like they may get some momentum, it's been squashed by the man on the mound, Fashempour.
Yeah, Fashempour has done a tremendous job. On the opposite side, though, Anthony Sapienza came in with an ERA that didn't look so great. Opponents were hitting 400. He's done a nice job against the Beacons lineup that had scored 10 runs in back-to-back games.
That one fouled off by Cesare.
I do think the cold weather is not helping the bats today, but it's certainly equally difficult on the pitchers who have to struggle to get a good feel on the ball.
That wind has been going back and forth throughout the day. Pitch misses outside. It's 1-1. That's the count. One down here in the inning. Next pitch, breaking ball. That one is grounded over towards first. Good play over there by Roth. He'll step on the bag, and there's 2 down in the inning. That one took a bit of a high hop off the turf. And with 2 down here in the frame, UMass Boston will have Boudris come to the plate.
Yeah, it was a really nice play by Roth. It was ripped by Cesare. That's a spot that he loves, taking a ball down the right field line, and then the amount of area there in foul territory and the distance that Bonavita had to run. Cesare could have had a triple. He hit a couple of those during the LEC tournament in the exact same spot.
Here's the pitch, and that one is fouled off, and the count moves to 0-1.
Cesare 1 for 2, or Boudris, excuse me. Single up the middle and a stolen base in the first, but then hit into a 4-6-3 double play to end the third.
That one is sliced down the line, and it goes just a bit foul. Count moves to 0-2.
Kyle continues his run towards 200, 195 hits now. He's going to end his career amongst the top 2 or 3 as an outside chance of finishing first overall in program history.
It's been a very solid career for him as that one's lined out in his center field for a base hit. And Boudris has his second hit of the game. That will bring him aboard with 2 down here in the inning and allow Herzog to get a chance.
And Herzog was the hot hand down in Florida. While some of his compatriots, the upperclassmen, struggled, Nick went 11 of 33 with 7 runs scored, 3 doubles, a triple, a home run, 10 ribbies, slugged just under 600. But today, he struck out and then had a single through the left side. So we'll see if he can get another one of those extra base hits and potentially score Boudris from first.
Count is 0-1 here on Herzog. 0-1 down in the dirt, and it's 1-1. Of course, this UMass Boston team a season ago, you mentioned Little East Conference regular season as well as conference tournament champions.
First time in program history they've been able to pull the double.
1-1, and that one is lined down the right field line. That's going to get down for extra bases. Into the corner it goes. Boudris on his way to third, and he's going to have to hold up there. It'll be a double for Herzog, and with 2 outs in the inning, it's now second and third.
Yeah, the one issue is that Kyle Boudris has never been the fleetest of foot. That ball was hit a little bit too hard, but it does give the Beacons a chance for maybe a pair of runs coming in here for McCormick, and Herzog just continues to do a great job of hitting the ball where it's pitched. He's not trying to do too much. Had a bit of a down junior season, but he's been the Beacons' best hitter here to start his senior campaign.
Well, 2 outs has not been a good spot for Sapienza here this evening. Pitch in there for a strike with a breaking ball. The count's 0-1. The first inning, of course, it didn't come off the two outs in the frame. But the next run that came home came off an RBI double from Danny Brown with 2 outs in the inning. And another good breaking ball, and that has been the pitch that has bailed Sapiens out in these sorts of situations so far for Roger Williams. And it's really been, you could say, the pitch that's kept them in this game. UMass Boston with 7 hits. That one a fastball well outside, just trying to get McCormick to chase, and it's 1-2.
No one's warming in either bullpen, at least throwing. There are some guys trying to stay warm. Sapienza's already over 85 pitches for the game.
The count 2-2, and Bosco threw it away. Off the glove of the third baseman, Boudris is going to score, and right behind him is the speedy Herzog, and UMass Boston now up 4-0.
Unbelievable. That is the second and now third runs the Beacons have scored because of a throwing error. And from Bosco, your senior leader, a guy who has been so good, for him to make that throw, it wasn't needed to begin with on Boudris, and then allows the Beacons to score 2 because the third baseman, Cedeno, I don't think it was that he wasn't hustling, he wasn't recognizing the speed of Herzog. That is a terrible play, and 3 of the 4 runs the Beacons have scored have been unearned.
So UMass Boston now stretches their advantage, and McCormick in a little bit different spot than he thought he was going to be in. It's now 3-2 with nobody aboard, and 2 outs here in the inning.
And while McCormick has struggled, hitting just 130 on the season, the one thing he has done is taken a lot of walks. 9 walks down in Florida, so an on-base percentage of .375. Today he's 0 for 1 with a walk, so continuing to show a good eye.
That one grounded towards third. Fielded over there by Cedeno. He throws on to first, and that will end the inning. But not before an error brings home 2. It's now 4-0 Beacons as we head to the top half of the 6th inning. And here comes Dylan Fashempour. You're watching UMass Beacons baseball right here on the Beacons Sports Network.
People at UMass Boston, they're here because they know they can have an impact, not just on research, but on people, on their students.
This is just a starting point. It only has potential to grow, and it has a big potential to grow up.
You're really having a direct impact on people's lives, and you can see that now, and you can see that years from now.
So I think it's becoming like the place that people want to go.
What UMass Boston is able to offer to its young people certainly stands out to that mission that was set right out in the beginning. It's something UMass Boston should be and can be very proud about.
Welcome back here to Monin Park, and you see the scoring summary thus far and highlights here in this one, and it's been the freshman on the mound for UMass Boston, Fashempour, 5 innings, 7 strikeouts, hasn't given up an earned run, and unfortunately for Sapienza, that last inning, just an unfortunate circumstance that allowed 2 runs to score to make it 4-0.
Yeah, Bosco just trying to get maybe too helpful there, trying to get the third out on a pickoff, and that really cost his team. 2 runs coming in. Neither run would have come in to score if not for that throwing error. And 3 of the 4 Beacons runs you can directly attribute to an errant pickoff throw by a Hawk. So it's really been a story in this game. Sapienza's pitched well, but his defense has let him down, including his own error in the first. And Fashempour has pitched well, but his defense has picked him up. They've made a couple nice plays.
The count is 1-1 here on the leadoff man here in this inning, and the leadoff man for Roger Williams, Gulino.
Gulino has not had a good day. Struck out swinging the first, struck out looking in the third.
Well, in his defense, it's been very tough to hit on Fashempour, and part of the reason being is that location right there, 1-2, right on the corner.
And the scary part, if you're Roger Williams, is that Fashempour has thrown just 64 pitches through 5 innings, so it's probably got another inning, maybe even 2, depending on how far Brendan Eigerbro's willing to stretch out his freshman. Right now there is, it looks like a righty warming up for Roger Williams, but nothing going on quite yet in the Beacons bullpen.
This is a Beacons pitching staff that looks to have some continued success. They've struggled at times this year. Pitch is upstairs in that one. They check the swing. It's no good for Galeno. But again, that first part of the trip in those 3 games against St. John Fisher, that was a tough aspect for them, was trying to hold down that offense for St. John Fisher, team out of New York. Swing and a miss. You see another pound of the glove there from Fashempour as he gets the 3rd strikeout and the hat trick for Galeno.
Yeah, 8th strikeout of the game, and Fashempour was happy, but Galeno was really frustrated with himself. It's actually a left-handed pitcher out there for Roger Williams. The only problem is they have 5 on their staff, so it's a little bit difficult to identify the exact number.
Swing and a miss, and the count is 0-1. Of course, the bullpen's out behind that right field wall, so it's tough for us to see all the way down there, and that varies by school. Some schools even have still no fence in front of that bullpen. That one misses outside, and it's 1-1.
The Pekins playing in the New England Regional 2 years ago, it was right down the left field line. You were very much in play, but with this being a mini or a replica Fenway Park, it's just like you would see at Fenway Park, just out beyond the right field wall, with the Beacons bullpen to the left, a little bit closer to center field than the Roger Williams visiting bullpen.
Counts 1-2 here on Bonavita. Breaking ball missing upstairs, and it's 2-2. That was how it was in Appleton as well, was in the field of play. 2-2 the count. You see a lot of minor league ballparks with that as well. That one grounded and off the glove, and Riley not going to have time to make the play. So that should be the first error of the game, and it is for UMass Boston, and it's ruled on Riley that time.
Yeah, I think Eddie might have had his head up when he was trying to field that one, trying to recognize the speed of the runner, which is a bit surprising because he threw Bonavita out on a much more difficult play after he had to dive to his left. Couldn't get the ball out of his glove in the first inning, but yeah, uncharacteristic from a guy who was very close to winning a Gold Glove award at the Division III level last year.
Just a little uncharacteristic, like you said, and now gives a chance here for Bosco with a runner aboard. And you know he's wanting to make up for his miscue behind the dish.
Yeah, I mean, the one positive for the Beacons pitching staff here is you can give up a run and still feel pretty confident as Fashempour fields his position well.
That's a good throw over to first, and trying to play some small ball is Roger Williams as Bosco moves the runner over to second base on the bunt attempt, and now that'll bring Danny Roth to the plate. And interesting that you take the bat out of Bosco's hand in that situation. Guy who's 1 for 2 on the evening, and leave for a guy in Danny Roth who has yet to see the base paths. He's 0 for 2.
Well, Roth did come in with the team-high .393 batting average, 11 of 28 with 2 home runs and 6 RBI. On the other side, while he's having a good day, Bosco came in hitting just .207, so Roger Williams playing the season percentages rather than the averages from today.
And Roth, for the second time today, watched a curveball that he tried to lean into just a little bit. That one misses it outside for a ball. Trying to kind of sell that pitch may have been a little bit too tight, but home plate umpire not fooled, and probably not fooled by the fact that Dylan Fashempour has been lights out to this point. 1-1 the count on Danny Roth, the first baseman. Pitch to him, and he lines that one out towards short. Great play over there by Hughie. Fires on to first, and that will end the inning. Another tap of the glove for Fashempour, and UMass Boston out of the jam. Still 4-0 in front for the Beacons. Welcome back here at Monin Park as we take a look at some of the highlights. UMass Boston in front 4-0. You see the extra base hit there by Herzog, who got into scoring position, and then the Beacons were able to capitalize off of that as well after the errant throw by Bosco. And now a new pitcher has come into the ballgame for Roger Williams. So see a new arm on the mound. It's going to be the left-hander Ryan McGahern that'll be on the mound out of Attleboro, Massachusetts. And he will step in and take the place of Sapienza, who finishes his day. See the numbers there on McGahern. 5.14 ERA and an 0-1 record so far this season for him.
Yeah, you look at McGahern making his second appearance, first out of the bullpen, went 7 innings, 7 hits, 6 runs, 4 earned, 5 strikeouts, and 2 walks in his first appearance. Faced 26 batters, but he comes in here in the bottom of the 6th inning trying to keep this game at 4-0. McGahern in that first appearance was against Brevard College back on the 13th of March in a loss.
That was a game that they did
lost 7-6.
Yeah, they did lose 7-6 in that contest, and that one in there for a strike, and it's 0-1. And that goes back to your point, especially at points in the season. You need that depth, and so maybe they kind of change the role of him for the rest of the year, but you're still kind of looking for who those guys are that you want to get in the rotation and keep in the rotation for the games to come, especially as you move into conference play. The 1-1 pitch, and it misses inside on the breaking ball. The count quickly moves to 2-1. So Sapienza's afternoon is over. And he finishes with 5 innings, 7 hits, 4 runs. However, just one of those were earned, with 3 walks and 4 strikeouts. The strikeout to walk ratio, not what he had expected. That one fouled off, and it's 3-2, but you would credit Sapienza through his 92 pitches of finding ways to get out of those jams, and in all reality, there's the possibility that this game could still be 2-0 if it's not for that error behind the plate by Bosco. The 3-2 swing, and it's fouled off by Kites, who struck out twice today, so the hot bat from Florida hasn't traveled with him as much as he may have liked.
I think it was also just facing a guy who had really good stuff against the right-handed batters. That inside breaking ball was causing him a lot of trouble in those first 2 at-bats.
And both pitchers have had a solid breaking ball here in this one as Kites takes the walk. But we talked about what Fashempour has done on the mound, and the numbers for Fashempour will stand out a little bit more. But again, Roger Williams was very much in this game, and still, in a sense, could be if they can find a way to get the bats cooking, but it's been tough to do against a very talented arm in Dylan Fashempour. McGahern fires, and that one in there for a strike. It's 0-1.
I think this might be a situation where you see UMass Boston play a little bit of small ball. I wouldn't be surprised to see Danny Brown potentially put down a bunt here, move Kites up to second base, try to scratch out that 5th run and keep that momentum going. I mean, every run is huge here with Roger Williams down to their final 3 outs.
They throw over to check on Kites, and even if you have a situation where you square and try and pull back, sometimes that can cause some problems behind the plate. But again, then you throw in the factor that Bosco has a very talented arm. This is a bunt by Brown. It's a good one. Play over to first and bobbled, and that's going to allow Brown to reach.
That's probably an error on the first baseman Roth, but honestly, that was not just a bunt for a sacrifice. With Brown's speed and where he put that down, that very easily could have been a hit. And we'll see what our official score gives. It's going to be an error on Roth, but that one, at least you can give Roth the benefit of the doubt, unlike the 2 pickoff attempts. That was a tough play, and with his speed, Brown made it a lot more difficult.
And now Young will square around here as well. This one he gets down and trying to let it roll foul, and it will, as Bosco by inches lets that one roll. And the count's 0-1.
Leung's frustrated. He thought he put down a perfect bunt. And then he heard his first base coach say, okay, calm down, slow down. He was wondering what happened. Typically, you want to put that down the third baseline, but if you put it down the first baseline with a guy like Bosco with his arm, it makes it more difficult for him to turn square and try to take out the lead runner, Kaides, who, as a catcher, probably doesn't run as well as Brown and Leung, who both have good speed.
So Leung going to square again here, all the way up in the box. McGahern, breaking ball. That one is bunted right towards him. Bosco calls everybody off the throw on to first, and it's in time to get Leung. So a sac bunt for Leung. It moves the runners up 90 feet. Now it's second and third for Hughie as he steps in.
And that's just great execution by Leung. Far enough away from the mound that McGahern couldn't get there. You bring Bosco out. They had the wheel play going so that there was no one covering third base anyway. So that's a really nice job by Leung getting the job done. And now the infield comes in. If Hughie can hit a hard shot or even just a flare over the infield, you're probably scoring 2 runs and really opening up some distance in this game.
We saw execution in the first inning from UMass Boston. Breaking ball misses inside. It's 1-0. Cesare hit the RBI ground ball on the right side, just how you drew it up. Of course, that was one of the unearned runs credited to Sapienza in the game. Brown at second. Over there at third is Kaides. Here's the pitch. Misses high and tight. It's 2-0.
And this is such a good spot for a guy like Hughie because realistically with his speed, he could even think about putting down a bunt and really forcing the defense to show their hand. Choke up a little bit, just try to hit a line drive or a hard grounder through the infield.
The 2-0. Misses down low, and it's 3-0.
Plus, you've got Eddie Riley, who's been hitting the ball really, really well.
2 for 3 in this one. He's got a double to go along with a single where he scored in the first inning.
So you're probably looking at the red light here for Hughie until at least 1 strike on the board.
3-0. That one in there for a strike, taking all the way. And it moves to 3-1 on Hughie. Hughie has flown out twice today. But in this spot, the flyout would work for the Beacons, who lead at 4-0.
Yeah, all the outfielders are very deep.
Pitch on the way. That one is in there for a strike as well, and it's 3-2. So McGahern trying to battle back here.
McGahern did have 5 strikeouts in 7 innings against Brevard. Last year, came out of the pen 4 times and had 6 strikeouts in 7 1/3 innings as a freshman reliever.
The 3-2 to Hughie. Swinging that one grounded towards second. Runner's going to stay put. They throw to first in time. And that will be out number 2 here in the inning. And a big put out for Roger Williams and a great play out there at second by Dominguez. He bobbled it at first, but able to just hang with it, still make the put out.
Yeah, that's tough. It was hit right at the second baseman with the infield in. Kaides made the right play, not going. And now you need something out of Eddie Riley, who already has a pair of hits, has a run scored. Can he come through? Anything to the outfield should easily score Brown from second. But UMass Boston haven't been able to blow this game open despite having a ton of base runners.
That one misses outside, and it's 1-0. And again, you talk about this pitching staff for Roger Williams. We saw Sapienza do it a few times, and now McGahern with a chance to do it, but working out of some jams. Did it a couple of times here in this game already. Swing by Riley, and he slashes that one foul to make the count 1-1.
And if this inning extends to another batter, the Beacons are going to pinch hit for their DH. It looks like Brandon Salucci, the junior college transfer, would pinch hit for Anthony Cesare, changing that lefty-lefty matchup to a righty-lefty.
1-1. Here it is. That one in there for a strike, and the count is 1-2. Those corners have been a little bit extended here in this one.
Yeah, well, I'm sure Tom Rodberg's pretty cold. I mean, I was only out there for about 2.5 minutes, and I was freezing by the end of it. It is not warm in Boston this afternoon, and the sun continues to dip further and further to our left.
And they're ready to play with you on the field as well. 1-2. Swing and a miss by Riley. Down he goes on strikes, and out of a jam is McGahern, and Roger Williams dodges another bullet. It's 4-0 UMass Boston as we head to the top half of the 7th inning.
Paris changed my life, and I got there through UMass. Those very specific seminal moments in Paris, the subway. A man in a tuxedo walked in and a woman in a long gown. And it was stunning. It all hit me. It was like a lightning bolt. There was this world of beauty and style that I wanted to be a part of. That was the beginning of the journey. And that all came through the University of Massachusetts. And that was really a key moment for me. That's one of the emotions.
Welcome back here to Monin Park, and we'll take a look at that last at bat for Eddie Riley, but just a good pitch upstairs. Couldn't hang on.
Yeah, nice job of challenging the batter. McGahern has looked good. This is a guy who had an ERA of close to 9 as a freshman, but being put in against the top 25 team, being told, hey, you need to keep this game where it is, give us a chance, and that was a nice job by McGahern. Another one of those Roger Williams pitchers who's out of the state of Massachusetts. He's a sophomore out of Attleboro, Mass. Other side, the California native gets a chance at a 7th inning of work. That shows how effective Fashempour has been. He's only thrown 79 pitches, 49 of them for strikes. So Beacons are going to try to get him through this 7th inning. Got to imagine that's the final one, especially early here in the season. But again, we were told he was a competitor. We were told he had a really good arm and had control of his 4 pitches. And honestly, could not be more impressed with Dylan Fashempour, the freshman out of California.
And he's done it in the cold. 6 innings thus far, 2 hits, 8 strikeouts, and a walk. Pitch in there for his strike, and the count's 0-1. The first college start for him in the cold. Although there have been a couple of teams that have come back from Florida and said it wasn't as warm as we expected. But the difference is 65 and 45.
And also, I think the difference is what week they went, because last week when UMass Boston, the softball, the baseball, lacrosse teams were all down there, they all said it was nice and toasty after a couple of cool years in a row.
That one is fouled off down the left field line, and the count quickly moves to 0-2 on Camner, who steps in for Roger Williams.
I think the previous week, just based off of a lot of tweets from teams around New England, there was a lot of rain. It was a little bit cooler. So, I mean, even down in Florida, you never know what you're quite going to get in terms of temperature.
You got teams that are down there for a while. Worcester has a 2-week-long spring break. Number 1 team in the country has been down there for almost 2 weeks now.
St. Joe's, Maine is actually already played 11 games, and they're heading down after they play UMass Boston. They head down to play, I think, 6 games in 3 or 4 days. So I don't know if that's just taking a day or 2 off class, but maybe they've had 2 separate breaks during the spring. Something weird's going on with their schedule.
Of course, that Division III level, you see a lot of games that are played at these neutral sites, and it's not like Division I where you can get all these teams to go play warm weather teams in these big ballparks and get a lot of teams, send them down there, and it's great competition. 2-2 the count now on Camner, and it's really the Florida trip where early in the season, like you said, a lot of these teams, they play other nationally ranked teams. It's one way to get yourself tested of where you may stand in the national rankings. The 2-2 swing, and that one is fouled off. And for some teams that come out of that situation with really starting to make a name for themselves as the new rankings come out.
I think tomorrow, Southern Maine, who moved up in the polls after going 4-1 to start. They did suffer a loss yesterday, picked up a win today against St. Norbert. They play Rowan, team out of the NJAC, who somewhere between 2 and 5 in all the national polls, so that should be a really good matchup.
A swing and a miss by Camner, and once again, it's strikeout number 9 for Fashempour.
Yeah, Dylan Fashempour has just been showing all of his pitches today. That was a beautiful breaking ball to get Camner off speed a little bit. I mean, this kid, I hate to say kid because he's certainly a grown man, but now has 15 strikeouts, and he hasn't even thrown 12 innings. I mean, this has been extremely impressive.
Here's the pitch on the way. That one in there for his strike. It's 0-1. Could be heading for LEC Pitcher of the Week honors at this rate.
We're going to take a look at that last strikeout after this next pitch. I mean, it's been a variety of strikeout pitches as there's a breaking ball that just misses low.
We also have a pinch hitter as Brandon Jenkins, the sophomore, steps in to pinch hit for Cedeno. That's been the impressive pitches from Fashempour all afternoon, and another good one there on a breaking ball just off the edge. The count is now 1-2. But Rowan coming in, the D3 poll sitting right now at 6, but as you mentioned, lots of polls and lots of areas that can change. Worcester was knocked off their pedestal by Trinity out of Texas. Sits at 15-3 on the year.
Jenkins, a guy who hit 287 a season ago in 29 starts, 30 appearances. Finished second on the team in batting average, fourth with 15 RBI, but hasn't seen a ton of action lately. Did not play against Trinity, and now coming off the bench today on the season, 5 of 31, hitting just 161.
Started 8 games for this team for Roger Williams. That one skied foul down the third base line.
And there is a fan in front of us who just put on her jacket, which doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know what she was waiting for, but at 6:38 here in Boston, it is not warm.
The sun to go down? I don't. The 3-2 now the count. I mean, it wasn't really hanging over behind home plate, but I'm just trying to logically get, some sort of way into the mind of the fan. That one goes down and low, and that will be a walk for Jenkins. So the pinch hitter able to draw the walk, and that has been something that has come few and far between so far against Fashempour, who just issued his second walk so far in this one.
And that's the first time that Roger Williams has either worked a walk or had a single since 2 outs in the third inning. The only base runner they've had reach since the third was an error with 1 out in the 6th inning on Eddie Riley.
That one down low, and the count is 1-0 on Dominguez, and we're starting to see the command a little bit of Fashempour dwindle just a tad. You got to think maybe some fatigue, especially early in the year, having not pitched that many innings. So far for the Beacons, it's 2-0. The count on Dominguez.
And here comes Dan Gamble, the Beacons pitching coach, as they do have a right-hander warming up. Certainly some of it is the fatigue. The Beacons didn't have a pitcher go over 5 innings of work down in Florida, in part because you just have to work your arm to that distance. But also I think it's just kind of telling him to settle down. We've seen a player who clearly has a lot of energy. He's going to be very energetic, active on the mound. Every strikeout, he's pounding his glove. Kind of reminds me of Fernando Burgos, who's a similar type of guy. Shows a little bit of emotion on the mound. Right now, just to ask him, hey, settle down. Let's get you through this inning. Let's finish you off on a high note. And the positive right now is you're working against 7, 8, 9 in the order. Just let the hitters put the ball in play. Trust your defense. Beacons committed just the 1 error, and typically they are extremely good defensively when they play on the turf here at Monon.
Next pitch is in there for a strike. Well, whatever was said, that worked. And the count is now 2-1.
Dominguez 0 for 2, flew out to center and struck out swinging.
2-1 offering. Fashempour delivers, and that one's delivered foul down that right field line.
Dominguez trying to keep a nice hitting streak alive. Came on as a pinch hitter on the 9th against North Carolina Wesleyan, but since then has had a hit in every appearance up until today.
That one is grounded foul right over towards the Beacon dugout. And to go along with that, Dominguez has got the 8 hits and then 3 RBIs. Only one of those 8 hits is extra bases.
He's had 1 hit in each of his 8 games during the 8-game hitting streak, trying to make it 9 here. It's probably will be his last at bat of the game.
2-2. Breaking ball, and it's a good one. Fashempour sets him down, and there's 2 down here in the inning. Dominguez goes down looking, and once again, the slap of the glove for Fashempour.
Well, that's the 10th strikeout, and what I love is that's the 3rd strikeout looking. That just shows you how good a pitcher's stuff is when guys are going down looking. And realistically, Dominguez knew it. He just couldn't believe how good of a breaking ball that was.
Stone watches a pitch outside, and it's 1-0. Well, combined for the bottom of the order for this Roger Williams team, they're a combined 0 for 6 of the walk. That's just how you draw it up if you're Fashempour. And the top part of the order not much better. That one is a called strike, and it's now 1-1.
I mean, the only 2 hits came in the first and third innings from Bosco and Bonavita, the 2 and 3 hole hitters. Outside of that, it's been walks, a couple walks, an error. It's been a tough day offensively for this Roger Williams team.
1-1. That one is skied into foul territory. This is coming right towards the press box, and it will go over top, and it's now 1-2. So Fashempour more than likely seeing his last hitter of the evening on a cold and chilly one here in Boston. 4-0 in favor of the Beacons. And if you're Roger Williams, you have to be just hoping that this is the last time you have to see Fashempour. Breaking ball misses high and inside. And again, this will not be the last time that these two teams see each other, as UMass Boston will go to Roger Williams on April 10th. Getting some of those non-conference games there in April. Mixing in with Little East Conference, and that one is grounded towards first, fielded by Boudris. He'll run over, step on the bag himself, and the inning is over. Well, through 7, it's been 10 strikeouts from Dylan Fashempour, an impressive performance, and a 4-0 lead for UMass Boston.
Psychology is about understanding the individual and understanding the mind. The main reason why I want to combine psychology and business degrees is because I want to understand the business decisions that are made. I'm Nurçin Çelebi. I'm from Turkey originally. I'm a senior at the 5-year BA to MBA program at UMass Boston. I think in management, the biggest mistake you can make is to not listen. So I want to be able to step into a company and say, here's what you're doing now, and here's how you can improve it. I moved here when I was 16 for high school. Moving from Turkey, it was a rough journey for me because when you don't really speak the language that well, and when you don't really fit in the crowd, it's very easy to disappear. But I decided not to give up, and UMass helped me. I wanted to be able to improve myself. I wanted to be able to try new things, and I think UMass gave me a really good head start on that.
And welcome back to Monin Park. It's a couple of changes for Roger Williams defensively. No new additions, but Jenkins has moved to first base after pinch hitting, and Roth will move to third for the Hawks. So now we also will have a pinch hitter on the UMass Boston side, as Brandon Salucci will hit as well.
Salucci's a guy who had a really good Florida trip. Beacons were talking about we might have 5 or 6 different options at DH, but I think Salucci is going to face off against a lot of left-handed pitchers. Hit .318 down in Florida, 7 of 22, 4 runs, 2 doubles, a homer, and 6 RBIs. Had a couple of big hits for the Beacons, especially early on in the trip when a lot of guys were struggling. Had a nice game 3 against St. John Fisher, 3 for 3, a run scored, a double, a homer, and 3 RBI.
And now for UMass Boston, in this game so far, it's been finding ways to stretch the lead. Pitch misses inside, and it's now 2-0. They have struggled to do so at times in this one. Of course, we're aided by the error by Bosco. But now this could be an inning where they might be able to stretch that lead, and now the question becomes, who do you bring out of the bullpen if you're the Beacons? After Fashempour more than likely just threw his final pitch. That one hit back up the middle, may have tipped off the mound, and a throw on to first by Dominguez is in plenty of time. And it's one down here in the inning, but Salucci, a good piece that time, just may have, again, it might have tipped off the glove of McGahern or off the mound and slowed it down just enough for Dominguez to get there.
Yeah, I think it took a nice high hop off of the mound, and that allowed Dominguez to make that play. If that ball slowed down, I don't think that it's an easy play for Dominguez. Instead, the high hop gave him plenty of time to throw out Salucci.
And the first pitch is in there for a strike, and the count's 0-1, so Salucci retired, and Boudris will now step in. The 0-1. That breaking ball is lifted down the left field line, but hooking out of play.
for UMass Boston, it'll be interesting. I talked to Dan Gamble, the Beacons pitching coach, beforehand. He wasn't really sure who they were going to go to. Typically, midweek games, they kind of have a set pattern, but today it was going to kind of be time and situation. I think you could see a Ben Gottesman, maybe a Pat McGuire. I don't think you're going to see Bobby Tramandozzi today. You want to keep some of your big arms available for tomorrow against St. Joe's Maine. That might be a team that ends up in the regional rankings, so you want to have everyone available with one of a couple different guys potentially starting against the Monks.
And that's where, again, you get in a lot of a jam in the regional rankings and how important those really are, because you want to save your arms for conference play. You want to save your top guys for those weekend series, but then again, you still have to win those non-conference games if in fact you don't get that number one seed in the conference tournament automatic bid. You're looking for that at-large bid, and once again, that goes back to what we talked about playing those national opponents, but it's also trying to balance that as well. And that's strike three, a fastball in the outside corner of Boudris, trying to show the umpire where it was, but he didn't really need to listen. 2 down here in the inning.
Yeah, Boudris admits that pitch was a little bit too far outside. Pitching depth is everything. And I think that's a big reason why the Beacons have been so successful. Despite losing some big arms, some big bats, UMass Boston, at minimum, has 4 starters they're always really confident in. They have 3 or 4 arms out of the pen that they're really confident in. And this year, I think you're looking at, if Dylan Fashempour is the Beacons' 6th starter going into the year, the Beacons have a ton of pitching depth, and they have a lot of guys who saw some time last year out of the bullpen they should be confident in. So it'll be very interesting to see not only what they do today, but also what they do tomorrow, because those Keene State games matter just as much, if not more, in conference play. You need to get off to a good start against a team that was picked 8th. The one benefit for UMass Boston is it doesn't look like, from the early numbers for Keene State, that Keene State has that ace that they've had in the past couple of years where they might be able to steal a game 1. Seems like they're more of a hitting team this year, which just means that if you have some really good arms, you have a chance to maybe make the doubleheader a little bit easier on yourself.
3-1 they count, and on the flip side of that, the danger could be if those bats heat up. That's a ground ball base hit up the middle, and Herzog continues his successful day. He's now 3 for 4, 2 singles and a double.
Yeah, Herzog just continues to have a phenomenal start to his senior year. He was a guy last year, I just never felt like he got into a groove after being the 2017 Regional Tournament Player of the Year in New England. Hit just 272, a career low. Came in hitting 333. That number is going to go up. And it looks like he's regained some of that confidence he had as a sophomore when he finished hitting 291 with 40 RBI, finished with 10 stolen bases. The only number that really went up for him last year was his stolen bases, and also added a extra walk for a new career high with 20.
They throw over once again to check on him, but that's the benefit so far of this Beacons team really throughout the years has been one guy who had an incredible year the previous year. It's been backed up by a different guy who could easily compete for that Regional Player of the Year. That's a breaking ball inside. The count's 1-0. So McGahern missed there. 10 RBIs on the year for Herzog so far in this campaign here in 2019. That's a breaking ball missing high and tight. And it's 2-0. Even if you go back to 2016, where he played in 40 games of the 46 during his freshman year for UMass Boston. That one in there for his strike, and it's 2-1.
And the other thing, we're talking about depth today with the pitching staff, but also with a guy like Nico Kaides, it allows Ryan McCormick to not have to be an everyday catcher. So if you need to give McCormick a game, you can play him in left as the designated hitter. If you decide that Kaides is a better defensive option, then if you want to give Kaides a game off so he's not catching 40 games, you can put McCormick back there and you have confidence in him. Having that positional versatility is a huge, huge help.
2-2 the count, and they throw over to check on Herzog. 2 outs in the inning. Here in the bottom half of the 7th. UMass Boston in front 4-0. 8 hits for the Beacons thus far. None on the scoreboard for Roger Williams in the run department. 2 hits to their credit, but it's been the 3 errors that have been the blemish so far for the Hawks.
Yeah, and I don't know why they continue to throw over. It's only caused them problems today.
This time McGahern goes to the plate. Runner takes off. That one lifted out into left center. Moving over and making the grab out there in left is Galino, and that will end the inning. So UMass Boston leaves one stranded, and the Beacons will send out a new pitcher to the rubber right here when we come back on the Beacons Sports Network. Welcome back to Monin Park, and as you can see, we have a new pitcher on the rubber as Ben Gottesman will take his place on the mound. The 1-0 record and a 3.60 ERA so far this year in his 4 appearances, all out of the bullpen for UMass Boston. And, well, Seth, you were spot on that's who they're going to go to in this situation.
This is a guy that the Beacons coaching staff raves about. Didn't pitch much at all as a freshman, just 4 1/3 innings. Last year, up to 15 appearances, 25 innings, an ERA around 6, but a lot of that was just 1 or 2 bad outings. It's been good this season. Went an inning against St. John Fisher in the 2nd and 3rd game, another inning against Keystone, 2 innings against Washington and Jefferson. So you're talking about all 4 appearances against teams that are ranked pretty highly. On the season, he's allowed 4 hits, 2 earned runs in 5 innings, 6 strikeouts versus 4 walks, an ERA of 3.6. And the Beacons are going to make a defensive change in left. Danny Colazzo, one of their defensive replacements du jour, will get the appearance out there with Ryan McCormick going to the bench.
So Gottesman will deliver his first pitch, and that one misses in tight. And if you're the Hawks, you have to see a bit of a sigh of relief that it's not going to be Fashempour that's coming back out after a very impressive performance by Dylan Fashempour. His night ends for the Beacons after 7 innings of work.
Yeah,
that's how you draw it up.
The 10 strikeouts are what is really impressive, but also 2 hits, 2 walks, and especially in this kind of temperature for a California kid, I don't think you could have asked for anything more out of Dylan Fashempour. It makes Ben Gottesman's job easy. Just try to mow through him. Don't worry about pitching too finally. Just even giving up a run in this inning, and you still have a lot of leeway in the 9th.
Popped up on the infield. Yugi moves over. He makes the catch. 1 down in the inning, and the shortstop, Hoban, is retired. So just like that, it's going to be the first out recorded by the new pitcher for the Beacons, Gottesman, in this game.
And again, Roger Williams has not recorded a hit since the 3rd inning. This is really incredible stretch from Fashempour and now Gottesman, at least for 1 out, of how effective they've been able to keep Roger Williams off balance. I mean, we're not seeing a lot of balls that are hit hard. It's been 1 or 2 line drives to the outfield, but for the most part, it's balls that have just been hit a little bit off the end of the bat or a little bit weakly, and it's been an easy day for the Beacons defensively.
And Galino didn't like the last pitch there, but you're also talking about a team that has struggled at times to score, including in their last game where they lost 17-3. Swing and a miss, and down goes Galino.
The golden sombrero for Galino now 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts, the 11th strikeout of the day for Roger Williams hitters.
Sometimes it's just that kind of night.
Yeah, and it doesn't make it any easier
No.
when every time you're fouling a pitch off, your hands are stinging. It's just been a really difficult day for the Hawks left fielder.
And credit the UMass Boston pitching staff. They have been superb. So that one's fouled off by Ben Bonavita.
And right now, with Gottesman working as quickly as he has, it looks like if he can get out of this inning quickly, that he probably will be out there for the ninth as well.
0-1. Breaking ball missing upstairs, and it's 1-1. May have mixed up that time.
Take a look at the replay of that last strikeout for Galeno.
It's a high fastball. Couldn't catch up. 1-1 they count.
Galeno's probably just a little bit in his head at this point.
Breaking ball waved down and missed by Bonavita, and he definitely doesn't believe he's seeing the pitches very well, just shaking his head every time he looks at one. And again, credit UMass Boston. They've kept, like you said, these hitters for the Hawks off balance, and they do it again. Going down looking is Bonavita, and that will end the inning. So Gottesman picking up right where Fashempour left off. It's 4-0 UMass Boston as we head to the bottom half of the 8th inning.
What do we mean when we say UMass is here for a reason? We mean that the 5-campus UMass system is the only public research university that the people of Massachusetts established to create better futures for themselves, but also for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts as a whole. It's a university that educates 73,000 students every day and graduates 17,000 graduates every year. We are the university that educates the workforce of Massachusetts. We're one of the state's 3 major academic research engines: research that saves and improves people's lives, and research that drives the innovation economy of Massachusetts. We provide services and economic opportunity to every region of the Commonwealth. The noted historian David McCullough once said that 2 great concepts, university and Massachusetts, come together in only one place, and we are very aware of how fortunate we are to bear the name, the University of Massachusetts. We recognize that we are truly here for a reason, and that recognition inspires us and drives us every single day.
A new pitcher on the mound for Roger Williams here in this one, and it might be the longest name on the roster, as Verna Catola will come on the bump for the Hawks, coming in with an 0-0 record and a 4.50 ERA. He's appeared in just 3 games so far this year, and a guy who had a very successful season just a year ago.
Yeah, Verna Catola was an all-conference pitcher, led the team in appearances with 16, and tied for second on the team with 3 wins. Finished 3-2 with a team best 2.27 ERA. Held opponents to a 222 opposing batting average. Got the win against Case Western on the 12th of March when an inning gave up 3 runs, 1 earned, and yet still earned the victory. His last time out, again against Case Western. They've already played them 4 times. Took the loss, 4 innings, 2 runs, 2 earned, a walk, and a strikeout. So this is his first appearance back in New England. Has not pitched since the 14th of March.
And here is the first offering to Kaides. And that one misses outside. And it's 1-0.
He's got an awkward little arm angle, not 100% over the top. And because of that, it doesn't look like he's going to throw with a lot of velocity. Just kind of trying to fool the batters, although there he's got a little bit more speed behind that fastball.
That one swung on and fouled off, and it's 1-1. And that explains 16 appearances, really, for him on the year. You see a lot of these sidearm guys able to go the double-digit distance on the campaign. Of course, you've got the guys that are the workhorses and can give you all those starts, but it's very rare that you can see a guy go with that many appearances with that over-the-top angle. Pitch misses high for a ball, and it's 2-1. We're seeing more and more of these sidearm submarine-type pitchers with different angles utilized at the collegiate level, especially now with the substitutions that are made in game. Swing and a miss with all the new sabermetrics and numbers, and everybody looks at that stuff now.
Doesn't have to be pretty. That's Chad Bradford.
2-2 the count. That one is in there for a called third strike. And Kaides goes down. That's his third, the hat trick.
Yeah, Kaides has not put the ball in play today. 3 strikeouts and a walk. It's so tough, though, as a catcher. You're not happy with the strikes that are being given. But on the other side, Kaides and Fashempour and Gottesman have combined for 12 strikeouts. So he just kind of has to sit there and take it and hope that he gets some more favorable calls from Tom Ryberg or whoever's behind the plate for tomorrow's game.
That one fouled off, and the count's 0-1. You don't want to keep pounding this point, but this game could realistically be a 2-0 ball game if it's not for the error by Bosco.
It could be a 1-0 game if not for the error by Sapienza. I mean, the Beacons have done a lot better offensively than Roger Williams, but they haven't been able to come through with that clutch hit. And a lot of that is probably the temperature, but also I think you have to give some credit to Roger Williams. And again, this Beacons team, they haven't been hitting the way they did a year ago when they were dominating teams.
There's a diving play by Dominguez as he slides over and makes the play, and that is the second out of the inning. So 2 down now in the frame, and we will have a pinch hitter for UMass Boston that is going to step into the box. And it looks like it's going to be Nick Palma that will head to the plate.
Palma was another one of those guys who was supposed to be in contention to start as the designated hitter.
So now going with the lefty over the righty, Leung here. The count's 0-1, and we'll see who comes out in the field.
My guess is Ryan Collins, the guy that Leung is starting in place of today, would be a pretty good one, as Collins, a year ago at Northern Essex, was a Gold Glove shortstop. Could see Palma or even Kyle Brzezinski, another guy who's been a backup second baseman. Palma already making his 9th plate appearance after appearing just 16 at-bats as a freshman.
0-2, and it misses for a ball. It's 1-2 now.
Problem is he has struggled a little bit. 1 for 8. His lone hit came in Game 3 against St. John Fisher. I've seen a lot of it pinch hit appearances at this point.
That one in there for a called third strike. Palma goes down looking, and that is going to be 2 looking strikeouts in the inning for UMass Boston, and that ends the bottom half of the 8th inning. We head to the top of the 9th. Final chance for the Hawks. It's a 4-0 lead for the Beacons.
We graduate 17,000 students every year, and the vast majority of them stay in Massachusetts. We have over 280,000 graduates in Massachusetts today. We graduate people in critical fields, engineering, STEM fields. We graduate people with research experience where they can start their own companies. It is amazing to see what UMass graduates accomplish once they leave the university. I remember vividly my own graduation from UMass. It was a beautiful day. It was perfect weather. I remember the pride that my mother and father felt. I could see it in their eyes. Here it is, 30 years later, I get an opportunity to preside over UMass commencement. It is so moving and inspiring for me to think this is what it's for. Here we are, we have these graduates that we're going to unleash on the world, ready to take on the world, happy about the accomplishment, but also hopeful about the future. It's hard not to get emotional at a UMass graduation. You see that UMass is here for the Commonwealth, here for a reason.
Back out on the mound is Gottesman for UMass Boston, and the Beacons looking to close it out here in the top half of the 9th inning. As Chris Bosco, the catcher, will come to the plate. And the first pitch to him, that one misses off the plate. It's 1-0. Well, the Hawks, if you want to look at a statistic that has changed the tone of this game, look no further than in the column of errors. Swing and a miss, and it's 1-1. 3 errors on the board to UMass Boston's 1. And 2 hits have only been registered by the Hawks. Next pitch misses in tight, and it's 2-1. So a 2-1 count here. That goes on Bosco. Now it makes it 2-2 after a good pitch by Gottesman right on the inside part of the plate.
Yeah, and realistically, this is not where you want to start a potential rally for Roger Williams. Bosco and Roth, the guys up next, are your two best power hitters.
And that's going to be a base hit through the hole up the middle. So Chris Bosco has himself aboard. And that's how the top half of the 9th inning begins. And Danny Roth now will come to the plate with nobody out and a man aboard.
That is the first hit for Roger Williams since 2 outs in the 3rd inning.
You credit what this pitching staff for UMass Boston has done to this point. 12 total strikeouts through the 8 innings of work and just gave up 3 hits until that last one just gave up 2. By Fashempour, Gottesman went through his inning without giving up 1. Roth.
Big thing is you need to avoid giving something to Roth where he could really drive, because he does have home run power with 2 home runs on the season, also has a couple of doubles.
That wind's giving a nice push out to right field. 1-1 the count. Pitch on the way. That one in there for a strike on the inside part of the plate, and seen this a lot. A lot of head shaking going on both sides.
It has been an equal opportunity strike zone. It's been pretty large. Hitters have not liked it, but at least it's been very even.
And Ross smokes one back up the middle. It's now runners at first and second with nobody out in the inning. And that word that people use all the time about umpires, consistent. It's been what it is. So now a pinch runner will set to come in for Roger Williams, and it's going to be Eddie Jackson, the junior, that will come and do the pinch running. So that will effectively end Danny Roth's day. And Eli Kamner will come to the plate.
Jackson making his 3rd appearance of the season. Started his first game, pinch hit appearances the last 2 times he's been on. Did score 8 runs as a sophomore out of Seekonk, Mass.
0-1 on the count on Eli Kamner, who's had a rough day, but as has most of the Hawks here this evening. Ground out, fly out, and a strikeout for Eli Kamner. Jenkins, who's on deck, has been one of the few Hawks that's reached in his only appearance out of the pinch hitter spot. That one is swung on and grounded towards short. Hugie will field and fire, and it goes off the glove, and that's going to bring home a run. Runner will also advance to third, and the Hawks, just like that, have cut it to 3.
Yeah, we're going to have to take a look at that replay. To me, it looked as if Hugie pulled the throw a little bit too far off the bag. We'll take a look at it right now and see just who's at fault on this one. It was a slow roller. I thought at first Hugie might go to third, and then he throws, and that looks like it's just off the bag there, and then Collins gets upended, allowing both runners to score. That's really bad break, because now you bring the tying run to the plate, and I don't think you're going to get 2 there, but instead of having an out and runners on the corners, well, an out and runners at second and third, you have runners on the corners and a run in. So all of a sudden, Roger Williams feels like they have a chance in this game.
So Kamner reaches, and now Jackson will come to the plate with runners at the corners. Jenkins over at third is Jackson, who came into pinch run for Danny Roth. They throw over to check on the runner back at first. On deck is Dominguez, who's 0 for 3. But right now, Roger Williams trying to battle back here with nobody out in the 9th. Gottesman fires over, and again back in time is Kamner. Kamner hasn't seen the base paths yet so far in this one. And keeping a close eye on him. He's only got 1 stolen base on the year. Gottesman's breaking ball in there for a strike, and it's 0-1.
The only reason you're really thinking about counter over there at first base is just to try to keep the double play in order that force out. You're not really worried about that run as much. Does look as if the Beacons have put another righty out there in the bullpen to start warming up. Probably Bobby Tremendosi, the closer.
That one grounded foul. It's 0-2.
This is one of those situations where the coaching staff is not going to be happy because it's been a little bit of the defense that has been the issue here in the inning. You don't want to have your star closer warm up and maybe even come into a game that he shouldn't have had to. Beacons' offense had been a little bit better. If the Beacons had made that play, they could have made this inning a lot less stressful.
How about some errors that we don't see often? That one is outside to make it 1-2, including one from Eddie Riley, who doesn't normally rack up the numbers in that category.
No, I mean, Riley's error didn't cost the Beacons anyway. Hughie's error, it was a tough play, but that one could be really costly if Roger Williams is able to score a couple more runs.
1-2, that one lifted out to left. And it will be caught out there, but not easily out in left field. It will bring home a run, and it's 4-2.
It's a nice play by Danny Collazo. Fighting the wind. You were sitting on the bench for 7 innings, came on as a defensive replacement from McCormick in the 8th. And that's a big play. You could easily lose the ball in the lights. This is the first night game he's played here at Monin. And a nice job by the freshman to make that play. Although I think Brendan Eigerwald's not going to take any risk, and we're going to see the Beacons closer come on just to make sure that this game doesn't get any more tricky than it already has become here with 2 runs already in the top of the 9th.
So that'll be it for Gottesman as he comes off the rubber. UMass Boston clinging to a 4-2 lead here in the 9th.
The University of Massachusetts Boston, with its scenic oceanfront campus, easily accessible to downtown Boston, is recognized as a model of excellence for urban public universities. 16 NCAA Division III sports are part of the more than 100 student organizations that create an engaging campus life in America's biggest and best college town. UMass Boston, Boston's urban public research university for the 21st century.
Division III allows you to give yourself to other things.
Having that free time allows me to pursue the things that I want to pursue.
Division III athletics affords students the opportunity to, engage in the other interests in their campus and in their lives outside of that sport.
It allows you to just be able to do everything you want to do. I wouldn't change it for the world.
A new pitcher on the mound for UMass Boston as Bobby Tremendosi will trot out there for the Beacons, coming in that 0-1 record and 2.70 ERA. But Seth, this is a situation where really they're taking no chances. They just want to find a way to get this victory here tonight.
Yeah, and that 2.7 ERA is a little bit bloated from the first appearance. He came on in the 9th inning against St. John Fisher in the opener, was able to go very quickly in the 9th and 10th, and then gave up 2 runs with 2 outs in the 11th of an eventual 8-6 loss. Since then, scoreless inning against Wheaton's, 2 scoreless innings against Keystone, and a scoreless inning the last time out against Farmingdale State. He is a guy who, especially early on in the season, is one of the best relievers in all of New England. For his career, 13 wins, 17 saves, 3.18 ERA in 70 appearances. Already has set the program record for most appearances. Did that as a junior, and now making his 5th appearance as a senior after making 20 or more appearances his first 3 seasons.
And now you've got a situation where a game tomorrow, want to find a way to keep him in a situation where he can come back for tomorrow's game, 2-0. That one in there for a strike, while at the same time being effective in getting this one done, which the Hawks aren't going away anytime soon.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about tomorrow. I think if you need him, he's available. He's certainly pitched back-to-back. I mean, he's pitched twice in a doubleheader in Game 1 and Game 2 when called upon. It's just you can't ask him to pitch today and then tomorrow and then ask him to pitch on Saturday and then think he's going to be as effective because then you have UMass Dartmouth next Tuesday. You want to limit his reps as much as possible to keep him as fresh as possible. And this is frustrating because it never should have gotten to Tramandosi if not for that error. I think Igerot, with 2 outs and 2 runs in, or even 1 run in, would have probably stuck with Gottesman.
And how about this? Tramandosi has just plunked Dominguez. So that will be a hit by pitch, and now 2 aboard, and the tying run stands over at first base with the lead run in Justin Stone coming to the plate.
Yeah, Bobby's had some issues with kind of losing his breaking ball throughout his career. Occasionally will give up the hit by pitch. This is huge right now for Tramandosi. Can you get a ground ball in the infield? Can you make this a little bit easier upon yourself and your defense?
Pitch misses high and outside. It's 1-0 to Justin Stone. The positive here for Tramandosi is the fact that the bottom part of this order is 0 for 5 with a walk.
And then you have the leadoff hitter who's 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts. But at the same point, I don't think Galeno, if he's given a fifth chance, is necessarily going to be a strikeout victim. I think that's a guy who might be able to pull it together and finally come up with a productive at-bat.
1-0 is fouled off. That gets out of play. And the count moves to 1-1. Here on Justin Stone, the DH, he struck out back in the 3rd. Flew out back in the 5th. And grounded out to first back in the 6th inning. None of his opportunities have really come with runners in scoring position except for a situation where he had a runner on first in the 3rd. And here's the 1-1 to Justin Stone. Breaking ball is popped straight up in the air. Does this stay in? Kites is back. He makes the catch right near the fence. A big out number 2. And that one might have been pushed back in by that wind blowing out to right.
Yeah, that was a huge second out there. Nice job by Kites, fighting off the wind, fighting off the lights to make the play. And it puts all of the pressure on Tabi Hoban, who is 0 for 2 today with a walk.
So Hoban now at the plate. 2 down here in the inning. Runners at first and second. Swing, and that's fouled straight back to the screen. Counts 0-1. And again, got to credit Roger Williams for the way they fought in this game. This was one that looked like it was all but over. The 4-0 lead going into the 9th inning. Breaking ball in there for a strike. It's 0-2. Again, the bats were quiet. 3 errors in the game. And now it looks like, fortunately, possibly for the Beacons, this last out can be made by Tramandosi. The error battle will win. Roger Williams has struggled in that department, and now the count moves to 1-2, and Tramandosi just trying to get him to chase. Galeno on deck. He's hoping for another shot because he struck out 4 times here in this game. 1-2, 2 down here in the inning. Tramandosi fires. Breaking ball, and that one is going to get out of play. He's not going to have a chance at this as it lands right on top and inside the booth.
That's a first. In the 4-year history of Monin, I don't think I've ever seen a foul ball make its way in. Now, it did hit the top of the roof. But that was a first.
Regardless, the count's still 1-2 with 2 down here in the 9th. They're giving us a minute to just regroup.
Yeah, I mean, in past years when we played at Campanelli Stadium, we've seen foul balls come straight in on a line, but not over the top and down.
And they say he went around, and that will do it. Tramandosi gets it done. A 4-2 win for UMass Boston. and a nail biter, but they're able to finish the deal. So Roger Williams, they strand 2, and the Beacons able to get the win by a final score of 4-2, and an impressive performance on the mound by UMass Boston in this game, but just able to hang on here for Trey Mendoza as he gets the job done. Step aside, we come back, we'll have some highlights for you, as well as the scoring summary and a look ahead at what UMass Boston has coming up on the Beacons Broadcast Network. Welcome back here to Monin Park. Elijah Gonzalez, Seth Orensky here with you. UMass Boston wins it by a final score of 4-2. As you can see, 8 hits for the Beacons, 4 for Roger Williams, and 2 errors on the board for the Beacons, 3 for Roger Williams. Take a look at the scoring summary. Here in this one, UMass Boston, they jumped out to the early lead and never looked back. A 4-0 lead that they built, and then the 2 runs in the 9th that came for Roger Williams in this contest. It was very back and forth for both of these teams, but for UMass Boston, they get the win here on a game in which they really had to battle all the way till the end. We take a look at what's upcoming for UMass Boston. As you see, a game tomorrow against St. Joseph's in Maine, their first conference game of the season, the Little East Conference against Keene State, followed by UMass Dartmouth at 3 p.m. Well, that'll do it for our broadcast here from Monin Park. Once again, our final score, UMass Boston winners by a score of 4-2. For our entire production crew, I'm Elijah Gonzalez saying so long. Have a good night, everybody.